Alistair will probably ignore some more of the CC. It's a more studied matchup in terms of managing the Rel as well. But I can see the theory behind that one, and it's a good dive pairing with the mid-jungle as well. Okay, so both comps now locked in. I think on the whole, relatively clean win conditions on both sides. Got the Yorick, I think, is kind of the fly in the ointment for AL versus what would otherwise be a really big pick comp. BLG, it's Ari, it's Senna and Rumble over the top. They have got not quite Kiana Jones in the Carpets of Doom, but
no,
there is still a few people diving forwards and the red carpets being laid out for them.
Our favourite composition of all time, Kiana Jones and the Carpets of Doom, which was Kiana Rumble with a Braum thrown in there, so you just have a joke about Indiana Jones at a...
That's a full round of Laungandia chance at the end as well. We got the additional one.
Laungandia. Flounder and Knight busting a little bit at that level 1. Nothing interesting in the runes that I can see. Baytron, he walked on too early on, spotted on a ward. On going to walk over towards Kyle. Touchdown is going to land. Knight shouldn't waste his electrocute here, and doesn't. Good, because you need that for the first trades in the lane versus the Annie. So support versus support, nothing really changing that much there. Vision traded early on. I think the strategy of Ale must be on point today. Baytron choosing not to start on Raptors now, doesn't want to be seen on his first attempt, so it'll be blue buff to blue buff starts. Before the Vi hits level 3, doesn't win duels that often. And Wukong, even at level 3, Wukong tends to win that actually. You have to fight in the bot side early on. I'm losing a bit of HP. Q missing both targets there too. Al's not quite nailing either of them.
Big moment there on that front as Al doing his best to now back away a little here, afraid of a potential fourth shot, or Kyle crashing down, is in control of that bush, which can always be a bit frustrating to manage. Of course, the Alistair can sort of headbutt them away, and that can manage it somewhat.
Knight losing out on the rush towards that level 2. Shanks going to get electrocuted, so that's nice from Knight to get a trade back there. Also, Shanks got the first electrocute trade of the lane. Al's getting rooted up in lane. Al just trying to get that double tap down if you can to get a soul here. There. By missing that first Q in the lane though, there's a little bit of that lane pressure early on. They will get themselves to level 2 now. And of course, the stats for both these teams on both their sets of champions, largely very good. On the only person who's got like a negative win rate on that champion, has played a lot of Alistair over time now, would still very much call it one of his best. Jungle paths on the same route, on the same timing. Baytron going towards top, Tarzan going towards bottom. TV2 still fairly even. All starting to drop. Alex dropping a little bit of farm here. The TV2 from Kyle working well so far. Kyle's Rel has been hold for the majority of this split. We can go into the next part of the game. My question is where that hammer blow is going to fall first from anyone's legend, because, you know, they have Tarzan Kyle. They are meant to be the early strategists. However, you know, I look at BLG. I think that you look at Bin, you look at the Knight. I think Elk is on excellent form recently too. Their lanes are so destructive. My worry is that the strategy of AL, much like you know, that famous saying, no plan survives first contact with the enemy. BLG, they are very, very powerful at stopping your plans coming to fruition because they will just slaughter you in lane.
Often being something to keep your eyes on right now, though. They've done a very good job of getting some early shove here in mid and bot. That's great news then. 21's legend. Junglers finishing up their first clear. Scuttle grab trade on the side of the map. Then, with the early shove into Yorick, shouldn't really be a surprise and makes sense why Baytron was pathing towards that top side of the map.
Tarzan going to put a ward down into BLG's bot side jungle. This is the thing which kind of evolved around the 2022 meta, which is if you complete your first clear and you're on opposite clear to your opposing jungle, so you've both kind of gone from like top to bottom and the other person's gone from bottom to top, you recall closer toward the enemy jungle, and as you're recalling, you put down a ward to scout out the second round of camp spawning. Baytron chooses not to do that, and he does get back out onto the map a second or two earlier, which means he does actually have an option to go for a lane gank here, but he's not really found the timing there alongside his bot lane. AD carry had already backed.
Looks like not going to find all that much there, but nice potential shielding there. If someone overshoves for another wave, will be there on the spawn of the Gromp, will now be a known quantity.
Well, level up actually on. a lot of things. That's gone missing from the lane right there from the electric traded, which is annoying. See that the Annie, good laning into the Ahri, and Knight not going towards that bone plating, I don't think. So losing out on their trade, but does get stuff, you know, like the mana flow band is better coming to mid game if you do get out of lane.
So far, happy enough to burn some pots, got the early Dark Seal, as is expected from Knight.
Should be expected for all Ahri players. They'll get out of the Dark Procession. Of course, this top lane matchup. People have been picking... Okay, Flandre still loves this pick, because I think he trusts in AL's macro. We'll see whether that will be the difference maker versus BLG today, because I think BLG are a good macro team as well when it comes to mid and late game. But the Rumble is so good at wave clear, it's very hard for the Yorick to get the gameplay which they really like.
Eyes on it, and again, can get towards the late stages, or at least the patented BLG mid game over
what side?
As Elk does get rooted up, and Wukong will stay on the dragon, not too much extra happening there.
You can just look on the minimap there, they were really angling for something to happen. Elk blows the cleanse on, blows the heal, and Kyle finding a good moment. BLG at least playing with their minimaps on that time, knowing that they're in danger. Bot side laning phase, not leading to a CS lead, surprising to me. Elk going back to a good back here against the Swiftest boots, which make it harder to catch in the future.
That dragon has started. It's a little while there, but not going to be taking too much damage. Again, the clone does help a little bit with drawing that dragon aggro. Mid lane, Knight and gone in and put a ward down into the enemy jungle to help spot out potential Wukong angles. A little bit wary now with the stun ready and armed for Shanks. Of course, Tibber's available, but Shanks is threatening him. His Knight is playing at the very edge of his range currently.
Yeah, exactly. At the level 6 mark, often the Annie does just drop an ult for poke, and that means that Shanks is 10 CS ahead, doing well in that laning phase. Shanks, of course, a player which reached his first finals last split, couldn't make it work versus top esports. They were felled by them in the finals. And it was legend with the lineage of Rogue Warriors. Rogue Warriors had only made one ever international event, 2018 Rift Rivals.
Oh yeah.
It was in their first year of play. And they did win that, actually. They did win that, but they've never made the major international tournaments, the MSIs, your Worlds, or in this case now the first stands as well, as of this year. Anyone's Legend, a team that were so often relegated to. Awesome logo. Not a team which people actually respected. I think by bringing in Tarzan, Abe, who of course used to coach BLG as well, and coach so many of these players, things have changed a little bit after the Tibbers does come out. Knight able to walk back, has a non-magic mantle to shrug off some of that damage, and will be able to retain his ultimate.
Okay, of course, that CS lead is beginning to grow there a bit for the Annie here, actually. Knight down about 15 or so CS. Should change a little bit with this wave being picked up, but still.
Yeah, it's 10 CS, which is what it was before. So, it's annoying, but it's not the end of the world. We'll stop the recall there with the Tibbers, of course. But Knight, not in the worst of scenarios.
TP here, so with that delayed recall will make this a bit more annoying. See whether Knight can get back in time to claim this cannon minion. It's always a nice extra element.
Walking back towards lane now, takes, 5 or 6 terror shots to kill this. I think he'll get a range for XP, not sure he's going to get the gold for it. Oh, he's a back. No, he should just be fine, yeah. Cool. Alright, that's actually completely fine. Now he gets to go onto the board with ultimate for the grub spawn, and Shanks might have made a mistake here using that ultimate if he doesn't have it for the grubs, whereas Knight retains his. If he'd managed to force that ult, maybe a bit different question. Senna Alistair now roaming top side, Annie without that ultimate. Does have the flash stun, of course, and is more useful with the basic combo than Annie was in previous patches. But BLG should be favoured now around this top side. AL took the dragon earlier. BLG should get 3 grubs.
Looks to be that way. Early smite there from Base, quite interestingly. Clearly wants up and ready for potential fight here. Kyle leading the charge into the river. Nab a few of these control wards down. Now on a potential flank has a Dawning Shadow. Ready to go.
What Kyle does have that flash engage potential for him. Oh, On has the ult first.
Gets it on to Kyle, who's now last embraced and piercing darkness. And Dawning Shadow comes on, Kyle will crash down and away. Flash burns. Be it a few ultimates there from BLG, but they can't really get much more than Kyle's flash.
They get the 3 grubs. Knight needs to be a little careful here. There was a chance of a Shanks flash. Knight has the Merc Treads first back, which means that the pick potential from anyone's Legend onto the Ahri much diminished now. We went through phases of seeing Merc Treads into the Annie from the Ahri, and then phases where it went back to the cooldown boots and people didn't care about it nearly as much. BLG, with the 3 grubs, deny Yorick a lot of the power which Yorick likes to play around, but they do fail that pick. And BLG will be looking to get some powerful gold onto their top side to play the way that we know BLG does, with very quick, snappy, crazy high damage from these solo lanes.
Early game has been relatively action, been relatively stable here. We've seen a little bit of a contest around the grubs, and it's been it so far. Not running to really hard force or pull the trigger as yet. The little ults and stuff start to come on through a little bit more formally. They're actually towards level 9 now, actually. Start to see a little more action. I want to start seeing that from things like the Annie, from things like the RE5. Like you're going to have those windows hopefully opening up in the next 5 minutes or so.
I'm just trying to get that double tap. They're doing well here in terms of their lane management, actually, to make sure that hoping Kyle can't just kind of chase them down the extended lane in the way that well often can go for a Magnet Storm here. On no ult for now.
Does now flash away. Burns that extra summoner. Tarzan now going to try and fight for these control wards and do so. That's a lot of wards in that bush, my days.
Spotted all three of them. Kyle, he doesn't have his flash ult now.
Cyclone on now in danger. He's going to get hit by the curtain call, you'd imagine. His body blocked well. Tarzan flashing for the crushing blow, gets it. Now trying to turn it around. Is Kyle in danger, but he also has an Annie around him. Makes it a lot more tricky as Baytron goes down as well. That was way too far, BLG.
Yeah, it was way too far. Didn't expect everyone to be roaming down, and Knight didn't have his ultimate back up just yet. So, an overstay from BLG, an overforce rather, and AL do get themselves the first 2 kills of the game, and they go between jungle and mid. Good explosive engage combo. On thought maybe he could live with his ultimate coming back up in that play. Not the case, and AL find themselves early lead. This is important. BLG, if they get an early lead, they know how to snowball with it. AL, a chance to show that they can do that against maybe the best team within the LPL right now in BLG. They've looked like that in this playoff. AL looking to prove that wrong. Go back into the replay. No. Started this on half HP, doesn't have himself his ultimate, and Baytron goes in and doesn't cleanly use the ultimate, and then of course he ults the clone. So a lot of damage down there. Baytron, big mistake in the play. And of course the TSB play continues after that, Transparency to teleport in and get some kill participation, but Baytron using that ult onto the clone, the big difference maker there, sadly for him. Of course the player that came in subbed in late into the split, BLG starting Dragon now. Shanks, he has flash, he might have to Toreador this, Matador it though.
Trying to find a moment. Flashes, but then Pulverized Charm still armed and dangerous, stunned into the wall there. Does go down. Ari picks that one, couple stacks of Dark Seal. Baytron now potentially in a little bit of danger, but they don't really have the burst to do much more than tap him.
No one else is coming down. Tarzan's not going towards that play. BLG take the dragon, they take a kill, and importantly, it's a kill onto Knight's Ari, giving him 2 Dark Seal stacks, and because Shanks got a kill before that, it wasn't just the 300 gold of the kill. I believe it was 400 and something gold for his early farm and early kills. Oh, you don't get the advantage from the farm actually, so it'd be from that early kill. Knight getting himself ahead in gold now, and as soon as Ari gets ahead, as a champion, you know, it's a threat. When Knight's Ari gets ahead, it's even more so. That is a warning sign for AL. You do not let BLG with their comfort champions get ahead of the game.
Elk backs away. Clearing out wards in that ward. Waves in that mid lane. They're not quite the same minions and wards, it turns out.
No, not quite. Might be coded the same, but...
Well, yes. Never know in this game. I still remember when Talia's Weaver Wall would eventually break the game along the game. Do you remember that bit of fun fact?
Yeah, that and Jarvan. Jarvan Ultimate was coded as minions as well. Lots of things were strange at that point.
So, to clarify, guys, basically what happened is the Weaver's Wall at the time was basically like reskinned or minions or Teemo models, something like that.
Yeah.
And so what would happen is even when they went away and they were kind of deleted, they would still be caught in the game's memory. So the game would eventually
run out
break.
of memory, yeah.
Because the game would, it was really rapid efficient.
Memory manipulation is a very fun thing to create bugs in games. Halo has a thing called arbitrary unit possession, which works off that too. So you can turn into anything in the game if you confuse the memory enough. Anyway, lots of fun stuff. Go Google it in your free time. Trust me, it's a hell of a rabbit hole to go down. And Knight got himself a plate in that bot side. Worth noting as well, Bin is also ahead slightly in his own individual matchup. Has Tabby and also has the Leandries as well. Don't often see the Tabby into the Yorick actually. Playing well for that 1v1. Goes for 3 goals. Will actually give Knight a second plate. BLG have been so good over that, you know, this era of BLG, with Knight joining the roster for the last 2 years. So good at getting side lane farm and side lane power onto their solo laners. That's why they prioritize stuff like this Ari so much. Gets the second one close towards his Malignance now. Can go back, teleport back in with the Malignance for the next fight.
Slightly more tame laning phase, at least in the early stage now. Martin CS got that Goldie, the kill, gets some play, good start. They have now fallen. Heal burned by on there. Deadly Flourish lands, maybe forced to make his will unbreakable briefly. Turns the core, flashes the magnet storm, not the best angle, but On's about to result run out, and that can make things tricky. Pulverized turnaround, Dawning Shadow comes up through. Kyle has gone very deep into the backline, goes Phaeton, going to find the starter, who got charmed up, finally begins to run away. Kyle has survived. In comes the equalizer from Bim, piercing darkness, will keep the side of base one alive, and now Bin has to flash out to safety, but not before the shots come on through. The pandas are everywhere. Anyone's Legend with the lore-appropriate skin, bring down the cow as well. Deadly Flourish comes on down, and Anyone's Legend come away with 2.
On gets hit by everything. They weren't looking for that fight. We were just saying, Knight, he has the item on base. He didn't have it right there. On getting hit. First by the ghouls, then by the Ral, then by the Jhin, opens up a fight for Anyone's Legend because On just doesn't respect the threat that's onto him. Throws his team into a fight they weren't ready to take, and Anyone's Legend, credit to them, the skill shot accuracy and the ability to punish when they saw the mistake comes out on top there. Knight now will come back out and come up with that Malignance, and Vagrant, he's actually a little bit of threat here if he gets delayed. He has to bail off of that. Early plays of the game have largely been determined by On's mistakes. This is a problem for BLG. We know this guy can have some poor games.
See exactly how this will happen. We get a replay because we know exactly when BLG decided to just full send it.
Well, when it started, so this is the thought process, right? Gets hit by the ghouls. Okay, that's a lot of the health down. Burns the heal. Gets hit by the stun. Okay, that's the next step. Gets hit by the Jhin. On gets hit by everything. Doesn't ult early. Doesn't flash out early. Disrespect on the Alistar means that the play opens up, and AL, hang on, they haven't had their back yet. They're also not bringing in their AD carry quickly. And it's not a great teleport from Bin, and honestly, the equalizer's not good either. I mean, the equalizer doesn't hit Kyle. He just angles it to the side, that's one thing. Also walks into the loop on the clone. That's a bad teleport, a bad fight from Bin. So Bin and On, 2 players which we know have been inconsistent in this year, not starting off well here in game 1.
Knight also failed to secure the kill onto Kyle and managed to walk over the ultimate.
No, and the thing is, he didn't have the ultimate. That's the thing. If he has, sorry, he didn't have the Malignance. If he had the Malignance, he kills there. The fact is, he didn't have the items for that fight, and he probably would have been calling that. BLG, the mistakes from Bin and On, while they didn't have those items, are big mistakes there.
Dragon's up. Of course, that will be... Anyone's Legend are the ones setting up around at least the vision right now. Of a modest 1,000 gold lead, and that's good news. Hope in particular has managed to pick up a lot of farm here and then killing a couple of assists, putting him in a good spot. Ironically, of course, it's Annie, despite the because still behind because of plates and turret pressure.
No, Knight's been doing really well with the 3 grubs to hit turrets, and it's now a bit of a shame that BLG gave up that early skirmish gold again from those mistakes of On and Bin, because it means that that work that was put into Bin in the early laning matchup, Knight, getting that side lane gold, it becomes a bit more muted, and Tarzan and Kyle on the other side doing so well at punishing the mistakes and having their team follow up, put their team into, you know, minimal gold lead, but a gold lead nonetheless. We do have full items coming in across the board. The Malignance going towards Leandri, so both mid laners, of course, both of them have quite low cooldown ultimates when it gets through to that level 11 mark. Of course, they have hit, and that Malignance. And then you do have Elk on the ship, actually really important. That should allow him to push and roam a lot more effectively. He gets to instant clear waves and be much more of a threat on the map. So Anyone's Legend, not going to be able to win that tug of war in mid lane as much.
And then again, it's a mid-game overfight from BLG that's put them in a bit of an awkward position. It happens pretty much every game at the moment.
Teleport in from Ahri down to the bot side of the map to clear away
Shanks on the flank.
from the Yorick. Shanks is on the flank. He does have flash.
Oh, it's going to be engaged. Has got the cleanse, backs away. Curse the Black Mist does help keep him alive, but has to burn double summon.
Does keeps himself alive. Does that open up anything else? Because Flandre also teleports towards bot side. It was matched by Ahri, as we were saying. This does mean that Rumble gets to spend some time on top side turret, and of course does have the 3 grubs. Knight could potentially look for a bit of an ult here just to try and clear out, but I mean, AL did walk up with the Yorick, and they just take the tower.
Tarzan can start stepping on forwards, doing a lot of good work here in the mid game. Anyone's Legend probably would have been PLG on a really good terror. Now remember, AL have been one of our more consistent macro teams, especially when Kyle and Tarzan are ahead of the curve. They are right now.
No, it's been really good acceleration from Anyone's Legend off of, again, mistakes from BLG. On and Bin opening up this opportunity. You know, if it was just Knight holding a chokehold on that bot lane in the way that we saw at 24 Worlds, and we saw from them dominate the LPL regionally, I don't think AL would have had those options if it weren't for On making a couple of mistakes in that early game.
I agree, but I think the other side of that has to be that this is a BLG characteristic where when one person gets caught, they go, well, actually, I think we can all commit and go in anyway. So they all just commit to the bad play. Bin teleports in, Knight ults over a Wukong. Beige one ults Wukong and just clones away. They full sent it. You could have just let the cow die.
Yeah, potentially they could have done. Potentially they could have done. But here's a problem for them. Of course, they only lose the one. Yeah, they lost the 2 kills because Bin teleported in towards that. BLG did take that turret on top side. Feats of strength were claimed by AL because they did get that first turret in the bot lane a while before this. AL don't have great vision here. Flounder on bot side. Kyle coming in to defend. Good chunk there from BH1.
Tarzan's here as well. This makes it a bit more interesting. Where's the rest of the squad? Hope stepping up mid. He won't be here. He's then destroyed with the curtain ring down. Is it coming? Under they go with the Magnetron trying to take the turret. Will do so. Elk trying to run away. Has so many grubs on top of him. Goes up the Dawning Shadow. Buys a lot of time. They will pick up the Yorick. Now beginning to turn it around. The backline. He goes bait. That equalizer is okay. Not fantastic. Doesn't mean that Tarzan can't stick around though. Forced to flash. As Knight went looking for a deadly flourish now opened. And here comes the potential rebuttal. Then body block, 4th shot available still. Lands onto Knight, who is the highest health bar member, so is largely okay. Lots of ults burn, lots of flashes burn, but the kill and the turret is BLG's.
Yeah, they end up getting themselves a lot of good gold back there. BLG, this time they're able to play around their item stocks. We've got a little spooky there because they took a few too many turret shots in the middle of that play. It does help that they go towards... Hang on a second.
Oh, double Bloodletter's Curse.
Double Bloodletter's Curse. Now I've seen a lot more Bloodletter's Curse being built recently. Malignance does proc it, and it does burn people down. It does mean that, you know, if Ari or Rumble go in, they get to shred for each other. It doesn't double stack as far as I'm aware. Unlike Black Cleaver, I'm fairly sure that's the case. You know, initially they go towards this turret dive here. On has the ultimate this time, flies into play a lot more effectively. On good headbutt back to make sure that the Root Cyclone doesn't just going to go into the backline. I think BLG is a much better fight this time. They have their items as opposed to the last time, of course. Knight getting the flash out of Wukong, that's really important. Really important for the next fight. Tarzan is very far ahead of the game. He's been playing well so far. If he has a flash cyclone onto you, you got to be afraid.
Elk a little behind in souls, but not meaningfully so. He's at 56 at 21, so would like about 5-10 more than that. The hay has been kind of forced back a little bit after some of the early plays. He wasn't able to come away as cleanly. Sometimes that's just the way of it. Still should be a decent breakpoint here with the rapid fire cannon. Understandable into Annie Wukong, to say the least. Dragon a minute away from spawning would be soul point for anyone's legend. Atakan also on the bot side of the map, so a fight around that soul point could end up with a lot of extra bonus prizes.
So AL, they'll be looking to
get a scratch card for your local supermarket. Yeah. Congratulations, you've won a pint of orange juice. Hooray! See, extra prizes.
Yeah, that's when you get like the orange scratch. It's actually just an orange scratch and sniff card.
Yeah.
Smells like citrus.
Yeah, it's like the really fake stuff you get.
Atakan available on the bot side of the map. See the Batron just hanging around. Knight that's helping over to the other side. They really want to punish Flounder. He has no flash right now. If Knight can get himself in range quick enough, this could be a big play, but I think he's walked into that often times.
Teleport and an ult burn 20 seconds before.
Not going to lie, I think that was oversold by Bin, because that you don't see the vision there. I think Bin throwing the equalizer and not getting the continued slow means that Knight then can't get the play. He's still here in time for the fight itself, though. Not a huge issue. Elk not at 60 souls, so still stuck at his second range increase. Would like his third if he can do. Vision control now being contested for bot side of the map. Dragon spawning soon. Blue buff getting. Hang on a second. Shanks does have flash and ultimate, and that stun loaded up. The BLG, they do not want to walk towards Cloak before the Water Knight. Looking towards a Charm. Or maybe he could be on Vision there. Just want to see if there's a crash down.
Let's see if he can play around this wave a little bit. Can't step forward to get that soul. It zoned off a little bit. Oh, he's so want to pick that up. You can see outside. I want to pick it up. There's two there. Just too far up to contest.
Batron now going towards topside. BLG choosing not to contest. Flounder is now overpushed. He needs to teleport away, which is indeed what he's going to do. But the teleport does mean that Dragon is going to be secured by anyone's legend. And they can go towards the Atakan after. You're absolutely right. Batron is going to be going down. Dragon will die. I don't think AL can rush Atakan before BLG gets here. Bin can teleport down. Has his ultimate back up. Remember, this is where you often throw the game because you get shredded by this objective. Where's the Bin teleport? It needs to come in soon.
Holding his line, waiting in the river.
Where's the teleport bin? Where's the teleport?
He's finally teleporting down towards this bot side, waiting for a good angle. It's gone.
Too late, way too late.
Now they're going to finally turn up when Inver Bage 1 backline is in danger. The equalizer is alright, but it's here far too late. Hope will cleanse and flash away. Stays alive. Bin now split off, getting a lot of damage onto Shank. The Elk not really doing anything right now. He's dealing with grubs. They're having to have Wukong head on forward and blow up that Rumble. Shibuya back away with the Atakan, the draw point. and an extra kill.
Bin's teleports have sucked this game. Both teleports in bad positions or late. This Rumble, often a pick which he has been maligned for. It's not his best champion. He's had to practice it. He's not the best in the league on it. And right here, it might be one of the key reasons why Anyone's Legend can pull ahead in the team fight. Great reactions again from Anyone's Legend to say, you've made the macro mistake. We can outplay you on the objectives on the other side. And the teleport from Bin, he's waiting for nothing. You see the engage on the top side of the fight. You have complete free reign to go towards the bot side. Flash is just he's trying to mind game Shanks, and that's not the worst thing about this. Actually, I don't think that's the worst thing here. But I really think that Bin's teleport, not getting Hope out of his own ultimate early, is a huge issue. Of course, and then he dies at the back end of it too, because the rest of the team can't follow up a good sword.
Page one who went in too late to the death as well, and that's 2 members down. The Asgard, the Soul Boy, the failed TP top as well. Like, honestly, I think that's 2 bad TPs in a row for various reasons, and I don't know whether this is individual players making these calls or whether the teams are just calling for TPs badly.
I'm not gonna lie, Sam. I've seen Bin do this for years. Yeah. I put this on Bin. Remember that world teleport where he teleported into 4 members and immediately died? This is something that Bin has occasionally done, specifically on Rumble. I think his teleports and other champions are much better. Worth noting that Elk, fantastic flash away from Shanks. He did well himself. Elk, sadly for himself, not been able to really be, you know, the one. Ooh, Kyle does have flash. Might be to use it.
He's going to be forced to go. But there's the last good way trying to turn this around now as Tarzan goes in and potentially looks inside. So Knight wide with that charm. As On now left out to dry a little bit because the charm didn't land. That's problematic. But Knight gets away. So On gets away with the unbreakable wall, trying to put down the curtain wall, get some angles here. Knight that side does have the flash, but needs to use it right now.
So the Jhin has the upgraded swiftness boots, has fleet footwork, and the Ghost Blade running. You can't expect someone to land the ultimate onto them, especially with the Zeal extra movement speed there. Jhin, one of the harder champions to land sitting skill shots on with extra point and click, without extra point and click. CC, once again, a bit of an overforce from BLG. I think they're starting to panic a bit now, especially against the macro advantage which LPL have managed to build up.
Look, I get the thought process. You've caught someone mid-back. That's like, okay, we can try and pick them off. But Kyle's actually been surprisingly hard to bring down. So, where are we at? Baron's up. Goal point, 2 minutes until that. Anyone's Legend firmly in command right now. They've gotten themselves 2 items and some great points. Tarzan is in a very scary point on the Wukong. I was going to say Flandre. The Yorick. He was both one of our OG Yorick enablers in this split. Doing a lot of well there. There's help to do just enough to keep that turret in mid lane alive.
2 minutes now until the dragon spawns. Really wondering what BLG can do to mount a comeback in this game. They're 3,000 gold down against the Soul Point. They really will be ruining those early game mistakes from On and Bin, which have led them into this position. I think they were in a great position when they were getting those free grubs, hitting those turrets, but much like we saw in Winter, actually, we saw this from Winter. You know, we definitely saw this team back, of course, when they had Way as the jungler as well, but they'd set up well for someone to get ahead, and then just a mistake or two makes the House of Cards fall down. Kyle doesn't have flash, does have crash down, we'll use it now. One of the great things about the Rel is you can kind of buffer through CC with that now. Minute until Dragon. The timer ticks closer towards that Ocean Soul. BLG haven't found an answer yet.
To Kyle, actually, he's done a really good job of A, surviving, and B, finding some very good engages. Credit is absolutely due to game. Though, two-manning this Baron and doing it well. They've sold it well.
I mean, it's still under a minute until the Dragon. They could take the Baron, but they would still lose the Soul. They'd have to take this and then somehow also get down to the Dragon. This will be Baron, but will they also be able to stop Soul?
Try and do it. I'm going to try and rush this. Maybe they're okay to get the other curtains are getting called there.
Tarzan
going to try and get over this. Going to be secured by the smite. Needs to back away now. Full shot land on the Elf. On trying to body block, buy as much space as he can. Doesn't have flash, but does a decent amount to get the double ball right. Fly over the angle. Tarzan throws his own ult, buys some space. In they go, base one dead, and Tarzan turns around the equalizer in the choke point. Forces the flash though. Flandre looking for a morning mist. Doesn't land it.
2 dead for BLG. They take a fight, which they really should have, again, just left their supports to die. Anyone's Legend will deny 2 of the Baron buffs and also get back in time to contest towards this Dragon. I think they could have left their Alistair to die, regroup, and try and fight around the Soul. Mistake there again from BLG, particularly Baytron having a difficult time. Once again, ulting the clone in the team fight. He's done that 2 or 3 times. Really need to see improvement for that midway through the fight. Ocean Soul will be claimed by Anyone's Legend.
That's 3 times I've seen him do that, I think, this game, which is really problematic. There's the Ocean Soul over. I think if he'd done that, Tarzan would have been trapped on top of the equalizer, because that looked fantastic, and instead he got to clone flash out. Can't have that.
Yeah, and you can see that, you know, BLG, they are sometimes left at the whims of individual performance. Baytron, a player which, you know, just tries to play a role within this team at points, and I think largely he's done well at that. You can see right here, he's up against Tarzan, who is one of the very best junglers in our league. Kyle hasn't got flash just yet. But Elk, what are you doing?
BLG trying to play a little hard here with the potential shove of Baron. They lose an extra member. Come to TP. Knight now in an awful position as well. And BLG, they sometimes do this, folks. When it's gone wrong, it goes really wrong.
Hang on. I think everyone but Knight will do this. Knight is saying, going like, Elk, my dude, you're one of our few remaining Baron buffs. Why are you walking up like that 2v4 in mid lane? BLG losing their minds around this.
Yeah, there's been some perplexing macro calls, some awkward TP starts, awkward TP spots, over shoves and overstays, and BLG fully committing to fights they never should have, and anyone's legend have gratefully received all of them. They played a stable, calm game that has gotten solid leads from the early game, and punishing BLG's over-eagerness to fight.
Yeah, no, BLG individual performances really struggling across the board. Knight, the only player to have not died on his team. He's doing well on the Ori, but he's just that much like the early part of this spring, just going, guys, what the hell's happening? You tell me, with, you know, like, you tell me what Elk was trying to do there in that mid lane. You tell me that. And I'm gonna say this right now. If you try and like cover for that mistake, you're trolling. like that, you can't play devil's advocate for a play like that. Tarzan and Kyle walk up, and Tarzan, he's so fed. He's so fed. The center can never afford to walk in range of that Wukong. Now suddenly BLG down 4,000 gold, down an Ocean Soul. I don't see how their team fight their way out of this, especially with Bin's equalizers being as poor as they have been. Anyone's Legend have been pulling the trigger very well. I think Kyle has an excellent game. I think Tarzan has had an excellent game. The jungle support diff, we thought it might come through for Anyone's Legend, but I thought that the solo lane diff and the carry diff would come through for BLG, and it's just not happening.
Kicked off here a little bit, tries to go into the not getting out in an easy way. Baby's going to try and get into the backside. Does manage to get a decent ult there on the hope. Just no follow-up. Where's the equalizer? Where's the rest of the squad? Bin not quite in range. On finally got the equalizer sucks. That is just not good.
The follow-up was there from Knight and from Elk, but it wasn't from the equalizer. So there was some follow-up, but you need the equalizer to be there. Hope manages to survive again. Elk will go down. Anyone's Legend, a dominant game one, punishing mistake after mistake from BLG. This is a team that 3-0'd their opponents to get towards this point, yet to lose a game in playoffs. Thought they'd be a shoo-in for MSI, honestly, before this game. Elk gets hit by another route. He'll go down, and that'll be the game.
And some of the issues we saw in the regular season when BLG was still figuring out how to be a team again. Their ability to overplay in mid-game when someone gets caught is kind of exceptional. It will full send it, and Anyone's Legend were there with waiting arms. Tarzan and KL. But I think at this point, we're likely going to see that Poppy jungle. Ornn's locked top, so Flandre gets one of his premier tank options there. Of course, the Jace can theoretically mash this match. We saw the Shy do that the other day in a pretty convincing fashion. As in 369, actually, I apologize. That's who it was, and it didn't work out in the end, but he did try real hard.
Yeah, so for BLG, they have double globals to bring to that Ornn lane. Just throw everything down into that Jace, get Bin ahead onto a comfort champion as opposed to the Rumble, which is more like a consolation. Oh, I'll learn it because it's very powerful. AL, very good if they get to objective fights in the late game. Worried about how they're going to get there. I think mid lane is a bit of a wash in terms of a matchup. I think that bot lane will be quite difficult versus the Misfortune. Of course, top lane is...
Crowds, got anything to say? Lagandia, the third team, failing to get a full chant this time. It was a bit disorganized. The BLG and AL chants, solidly loud in this arena. It's got a great echo.
Of course, we're being hosted in the JDG arena for this playoffs. They're out already, but BLG AL, well, there's a couple of former members here, aren't there, in terms of Knight around. Don't think actually any of AL's members were... Oh, no, sorry, Hope was there. Of course, Hope won JDG in 2022 in summer. That was when he won his one and only title in the LPL. So we've got a representative from JDG, from either team actually, to keep carrying that torch forwards.
It's a Bit of a frustrating one for Hope, because obviously he was then replaced by Ruler, and then that era of JDG was up there as one of the great rosters of all time, and Hope kind of like, oh yeah, he was on JDG, oh yeah, he won that time. Is he a good AD character? I don't remember him that well. You have those conversations about it, which feels very unfair, really. He had a couple
He won in the Civ Zeri hyper carry AD carry meta. Elkanon will look to see if they can bully out with a Misfortune. Can be quite good, of course, by playing around that lane. If there's minions between you and the target, of course, Misfortune much better than Ezreal. He needs to hit Qs, and Misfortune
loves it, yeah.
Loves it, because that's how she hits Qs, actually. Starting with a W, actually, to help get wave push. We often do that as the Nautilus hits the level 2 now. No real fighting happening.
One of the reasons why Misfortune with the lethality was often a thing for a bit, because with Dirk, if you got a Q bounce with the Dirk, how it was a big old chunk early on. Not too much to be seen there. Shanks will walk on over and put a relatively deep ward in. You can in fact just do those kinds of walls where you don't put them straight in the bush, but a little bit deeper to get a bit more safety, especially into junglers who don't have that ability to get over the wall.
Looking at the stats for their teams, both of these teams have very good stats on most of their champions. Tarzan, actually, that one loss he's had on the Poppy was versus BLG in the second round robin. He was quite poor in that game, actually, punting people out to safety with the ult missing wall stuns. It was an off series for him. You know, AL, they have often lived and died by Tarzan and Kyle and their form. BLG, much like last game, we were talking about them living and dying by some individual performances. Knight you can always count on to have a good game. I think the rest of the members, bit of a coin flip, particularly with Beichuan and On. I think recently, in that last game, showing some of their weaknesses. Beichuan typically, a player that is meant to just get people on the same page. It's been the big thing for him. It's like, he doesn't need to be the best jungler. He just needs to be the jungler which the team understands. Knight not going to get that flick back there. The early lane phase of the Victor, obviously a bit of a pain, but Knight keeping up in farm well.
That he is. I think if he gets interrupted again here, Shanks is going to see him there again. Can't quite get in range for a Q to shut that one down. The E, a lot longer range, a lot easier to do. A good time at Beichuan though. We'll claim this bot side Scuttle Crab. TP back in from Knight, isn't interrupted that second time. A bit wary of the wave being in a slightly awkward position with Tarzan in the river on the other side, but should be okay here.
So in that point of the game, so weirdly, it looks like it's a risk because again, there's a jungler nearby. It's not really, because you know that your jungler has one side of the lane, so you just hover. Look on the minimap right now. He's hovering down to the bot side of the mid wave, which means that actually the jungler would have to walk across all the way across mid lane. So you're basically using the fact that both junglers are on Scuttle Crab to make sure that you can be safe like that. Knowing where, very vaguely where both junglers are on the map is obviously a great way to play through aggressive lanes.
Decent job with that. Oh, getting a look in here is actually turning it around with a big ignite. He tries to use the battle down to get the grand end. He's actually caught up on to make it rain. One forward from Hope. Will end up being some trade of summoners. Barrier down on Hope there, potentially very important, as Kyle, I think, is realistically going to have to reset here. Very hard for him to stay in the lane. I'll take a bit of a chunk, but I think he'll be alright.
Yeah, good discipline from Kyle holding the heal there. Yeah, they do have that barrier on out. They have to flash. You stay away from that wall. Don't want to get wall stunned.
Flashes for flash as Tarzan goes flashing for the wall stun. Can't quite get it to happen, as Tarzan will eventually not allow BLG to get that wave fully shoved, having won the 2v2 trade.
Really good trading back from Hope to get Elkanon down low enough. Even if you're getting slapped by the Misfortune and the Rakan early, you do want and the Nautilus early. You want to make sure that you can trade back heavily enough, like you did there from Hope, to open up extra options. Tarzan going to use this time to steal Raptors. Beichuan doing the same. Sure, both junglers around mid lane.
Oh, Kyle's still around here. Knight chunked a little low, and of course did have a TP a lot earlier, so Shank's got to come back with a lot of resources to his name, and Knight without that TP, yes, you've got that ability to rock surf, and we'll have level 6 soon-ish, but I think he's going to have to reset here, especially as Kyle preventing getting the wave fully shut. That's kind of
that's really annoying, because now there's the chance that... Oh, no, the wave's not going to get frozen anyway, actually, because it won't be put out there. Doesn't stop it. Luckily, doesn't stop it. But Kyle, you can see the importance of Kyle, getting out of that lane, being an annoyance early. Tarzan, Kyle have been so important to anyone's legend. This is how they win games. Their jungle support are very effective, very impactful on the map as soon as you give them an opening.
Wow, we'll keep our eyes on it as Shanks, importantly there, I think he got the gravity field to finish what Kyle started and keep the wave at least just outside a turret. Yep, Knight's going to have to push up a little deeper than he'd like, as at least got On and Beichuan around. Worth noting, there was a little bit of a look at a dragon start there from Tarzan, but won't be fully converted.
Waiting to see when Beitron can get involved in the game. On is off vision here.
Yeah, it gets interesting, but it's still pull the force gun. I think BLG thought they were safer than they were. Trying to turn now onto Shanks to flash away the gravity field. Will prevent On from getting over. Beitron will flash away to get a bit of a heal there from the Scuttle Crab. Bin now joining. Has got the ability to look for something more. Flash for the staggering blows onto Shanks. Still trying to survive. Flandre body blocking, but he gets knocked back by the flash thundering blows. Good work from Bin.
Oh,
Shot
nice!
back as Tarzan potentially in danger. Beitron turns up with the Grand Starfall, and they end up getting a 2-for-1.
Really good skirmish play by BLG to get them into the lead, and now suddenly we see Beitron is ahead, a kill and an assist and some farm, and AL, their first foray into the game, does not work out in the way that it did in game 1. Some good individual micro plays by Beitron, not immediately dying, and Knight's flick back later into the play win that fight for them. It starts off with Tarzan and Shanks thinking that they're going to be getting a good play here, but On is off vision. He's the one that gets the unexpected play here. Beitron a good E. Flandre tries to get a flash predict onto the Pantheon, can't manage it. Then watch how Knight plays around this fight too. Even though the Chaos Storm is on him, he knows he has a bunch of extra damage to play through it. Flandre does get a body block, but Knight's play here does get ignited by the spellbook, but getting out of the play and then flicking back, Tarzan gets the 2 kills. Does die to the ignite, but great extra play to get the damage down.
Beitron was really aggressive for that Scuttle Crab because it got him 6 as well, so at that point Tarzan tried to zone him off the rest of the fight, but he backs far enough away. Grand Star falls in at the end of it.
Beitron had a bad game on Vi last game.
Yeah.
He spent most of his game ulting Wukong clones. Now he's ahead of the game.
Sounds like me.
Now he's ahead of the game on the Pantheon, which he's undefeated on so far this split, 3-0 for BLG. Can't remember what his record was on TT. Gets that first grub down now. There is a contest coming over from Tarzan. Does have the ultimate to punt someone away.
Take the 1 grub, and then by a bit of time, Kyle's keeping them aggroed. Overcomes Hope, Misfortune, dropping the wave to make this play, by the way, is Elk, so really wants to help out with this. Look for potential angles in a good spot for a potential bullet time there. Will now turn up into the river. There's a ward there before anyone says to see it all started, but they are going to at least, I think, get a second grub here.
Awesome to know that Tarzan actually doesn't have his second level of his Smite. Smite still available for Beitron. Flank coming through, but Knight spots out Kyle.
A little bit careful. Doesn't have a level 6 flash for the Grand Entrance. Goes across the Unraveled Earth. Keeper's Verdict knocks the Nautilus away. Elk beginning to run away from Beitron. No flash. Throws up the Aegis off, buying some time. Bullet time is solid, but it has to be cancelled because Kyle is coming on over, potentially for some more work. And in the end, Beitron does go down. The Keeper's Verdict enough to knock the Nautilus away and split the team.
Instead, though, 3 grubs to BLG. Knight doesn't have flash. Could be a bit of an issue.
It's knocked up. Potentially gets to walk away. Trying to hold on for the stone surfing there. Should just about get out to safety.
Flandre might have just made a game-changing mistake here. Teleports in, goes towards that fight. They only get 1 kill. Wastes his ult in mid-wave and is given a 3 grub chase, 2 plates on bot side. A teleport in from Knight means that they can potentially even kill Flandre as it comes back to lane now as well. If Flandre looks for an all-in, Bin will kill him here, especially with Knight helping. Flandre, this last minute or 2 has just not been it.
Oh, what a split back as well. Knight catches him mid-awkward. There's the Weavers. Well, he has no ability to charge on through it. And On fumbles hard.
Flandre commits so hard to the top side of the map, and as we were talking about it, it just gets worse. 1,000 gold behind. Knight teleporting in to get a kill, get himself into that side lane, and now you have to play with your Ornn very far behind the game. Anyone's Legend, this early game, night and day difference from that game 1, where BLG are now winning the early skirmishes.
Very much are. Big pickups there for the Jace and the Talia. Lots of gold towards that. Jace is now up 20 odd cess. Get plates. I think I wanted to say CS and plates. There's some weird combination of the two. Either way, has gotten a lot of gold out of this early game.
The worry now for Anyone's Legend is last game, when BLG got the 3 grubs and they started hitting turrets, On and Bin made subsequent mistakes which stopped them from being able to use 3 grubs to break early turrets and get ahead in the game. BLG are already ahead in the game, have those 3 grubs, and I'm not sure AL have the best tools to start a fight in a macro sense now. Last game they had the Wukong, could just kind of go in and cyclone, the Jhin was a great follow-up. AL, with the Ornn so far behind, not having the greatest ability to play through the lane either now, because he's so far behind. I wonder whether BLG can just stick Bin and Knight in solo lanes, and much like their 2024 selves, just get so much value out of just shredding the map with the Jace, and in this case the Talia, hammering down with 3 grubs and turrets.
Got globals plus grubs plus an earlier spike right. Victor, Ezreal, 2 items, let's be real. Ornn wants to get later on to get those ornaments up and is already a significant amount behind, so we'll need some time to really stabilize. BLG going to be in the ascendancy for the next 5 to 10 minutes, and that should be scary, I fear, for Anyone's Legend.
Second objective likely to go down for BLG here. Is there any contest coming in from Poppy? Well, Poppy is around with ultimate. We'll see if there is a fight, actually.
Stacking blows and the dead line comes on down. Kyle gonna nearly die, but flash forwards the Comet Sphere, gets some value. Elk now in danger as he gets flash heroic charge into the wall. On, trying to run away. He needs to buy a bit of space. He's got the flash. The Titan's Wrath as well. Tries to turn it around, lands the hook, a flash away. Wonderful turnaround. Grand Starfall now on the backside as Hope needs to back away. Shunt away as Base One in danger. Does get a bit of a shield fall. Finally goes down, but Bin flashes to the skies to bring down Hope. And I think Base One will be okay about keeping them all interested.
Flandre has Flash and Ghost. I don't think he knows that Jace is coming up to him. Ghostblade coming up. He just used that W. Flandre could be in some big trouble, even with the summoners here.
Gets an auto into the W. It's a big turnaround. The Bellows Breath comes on down. Tries to get out of there, but to the skies we go. In they go, trying to buy time. Teleport comes on through. Bin now needs to think about running away. In comes Shanks. Looks for some more. Flandre just about survives an important shutdown.
Okay, Flandre, really well played, knowing that Shanks can get there in time. I was pretty convinced he was going to at least blow defensive Flash, but he ends up getting a kill for himself. Important there. Bin blew the teleport to make that play, dies for it. Knight will pick up the pieces in that top side, does have the ultimate to affect the map too. AL though, their early fights have not been going well for them. Dragon goes down, this play here. The amount of CC that On is getting down to combo up with the bullet time and then the Unraveled Earth from the Talir as well has been game-changing so far. On, much better game than his first game on the Alistair. Right here again, very low HP. It's very hard to play out fights like this as the Nautilus goes in with that last hook though, trusting that he can flash out even with low HP, and the whole team is on the same page. This is how BLG have managed to grow as a team in this split. Even if we've seen some individual underperformances from Beichuan, from On, from Bin, from whoever really, they're on the same page and it means that they can play so much more aggressively.
Weaver's Wall looking for some more Tarzan. Rooted in place and split back with the seismic shove. It's looking like a 9 on the Richter scale. Knight will pick that one up. He's on a rampage.
He even picked himself up a Dark Seal as well. Good on Unite, of course he has. Of course, last game couldn't make that work on the Ahri. This time looking much better. Talia, one of his other best champions in the game. If I were to say, you know, what were Knight's top string of champions, of course the Ahri's in there. But the Talia is very close to the top of the list too. Very, very good on this champion at playing around the global, playing around the follow-up CC he can add on to his teammates. First turret will fall on bot side. It's Elk that takes this one. He's having a good game too on the Misfortune as well. Even though AL have tried to threaten him in the backline, haven't been able to kill him so far. And Anyone's Legend, we will see now what their strategy can bring to a game in which they're significantly far behind. If they can fight and give up a good fight in a game like this where BLG are significantly far ahead of the game, then I think that bodes very well for Anyone's Legend. But they're running out of tools to impact the game.
Oh, looking at the timer, that's 30 seconds to 15 minutes, and there's that 5-minute window where BLG will take a fight where they overforce.
True.
So we keep our eyes on that. They've been known from these kinds of positions to maybe full send a little hard. We saw that last game in a really dramatically bad sense, and see how it works from there. Flandre, of course, getting that shut down topside helps alleviate the snowball that was rolling there. Still 1,000 or so gold behind, but it could have been worse. I think someone in chat said it was 658 gold he picked up from that shutdown. Tarzan and Kyle will be spotted out here. Bin got the Ghostblade, shouldn't really be any danger, so backs away quite happily.
Sometimes I do question though, because when you have Ghostblade, you are squishier, and he has no flash, so you make a big enough mistake. Yeah. Oh, I just realized that we have, the boys are fighting. Javik fighting off in the 1v1 in topside. Apologies to all you Javik lovers out there. Is this a lovers to enemies arc? I don't know. Harold started.
Mel's in chat with the popcorn and a bottle of wine.
Harold started up and finished by BLG. They take that as, I don't know. I don't have anything else to follow from that. I just want to look. I just every so often I like throwing out a shout out to the JVIC community. You know, happy Pride Month, everyone.
You absolute beta, just like this is how
I
get the
numbers. I support you know, gay rights and gay wrongs in the case of you know Jace and his way that he destroyed society with his hex gates. Yeah, hex tech. How's that going for you all?
And then Victor out there like, yes, and now I will commit. I'm not sure wrongs is quite the term at the end of that.
No. I think it counts as a wrong.
Yeah, it really does. What's the step beyond that? An atrocity?
Yeah. 30 seconds until the dragon comes up, and we'll see who of the great criminals will come up on top in this game. Hey, at least it's not Caitlyn. I have many things to say about that. Dragon's coming up soon. It'll be second for BLG. Hook lands onto Cal, but not going to lead to that much.
I mean, all I'm saying is Vi was definitely a criminal in the last game, so, you know, that's fine. Not the greatest place. I hope he eats a lot of damage before this play. Again, you're in Ezreal. I know you can play from range, but that's not a fun place to be in. 3 grubs and Herald charge. This mid-tier 1 is surely dead, right? And will be swiftly claimed by BLG. Anyone's Legend looking for potential pick as they head into the river, though. Won't be able to find anything.
Eventually, Anyone's Legend's composition is going to be very good around objectives, and typically against this terrain, with the wall being very good for Poppy around this kind of dragon fight, this is where they are strong, but I don't know whether they have the goal to fight right now. Here comes the Ornat.
Weaver's Verdict coming on through. Sentence hits! Important one on Fertility. Can rejoin with the Weaver's Wall. Based on the back of it, the Age of Soul. That bullet time is superb! Looking to win this one out as the dragon was secured by Tarzan. Weaver's Wall about to come down. Eats a shot blast. Other side. Big shot. Flash for the double of LPL. Psycho gets the one under the Rakan. Going to get the damage on. Trying to flash on one of the staggering blow to Shanks. Tarzan shield from that buckler. Giving some work based on the back of the pit. Buying so much time. Hope can't quite do it up till right at the end. Bin slowed down. Flash for the auto. And Bin finally gets it with that form change. Shanks now flashing on forward. Does get it with the Hex Tech, right? It's a messy fight. Gravity Field buys some time. Looking to TP out. Should get out to safety.
Elk didn't want to walk up, even had the barrier. Surprised he didn't want to fight that more. Anyone's Legend take down 2 in the fight, but lose 4 of their own overall. At least they get that dragon. However, this is meant to be one of the better places for Anyone's Legend to fight. The fact that they lose more gold from this is a problem. However, getting the dragon does give them some hope later into the game to extend things into a point where maybe they can play a later game dragon fight if things work out. Now, the Ornat here is not actually really for damage. It's to guarantee the Poppy ult landing onto the Talia. Now, the thing is, of the targets with the punt out, the Talia has the ult to rejoin the fight, and that makes things really interesting here. Baitron, great E to keep him healthy as well, so the initial engage onto the jungler doesn't really work out in the way that Anyone's Legend would have liked. And they use all of that CC onto the jungler, which they didn't kill, which leaves open a large open battlefield for Elk to start flashing forwards on, use that struct to move around the play and get value.
And On will eventually sort of trade his life out for this, but I think in many ways his work here was done. I think probably at this point on, you didn't need to be here. The flash from Shanks secures the kill. Tries to bait it with the Titan's Wrath, but wasn't respectful enough of the Victor damage. That's what the thought process was. I appreciate the aggression and bloodthirstiness. However, that time, you kind of just spilled your own blood. Either way, still a very good position now for BLG. They're up 6,000 or so gold. Actually, more like 5, I misread 0.9. Either way, big lead for this point in the game.
No, and much like we were saying before, Anyone's Legend, if they could take that kind of fight, use the Ultra Blade clear, I guess. Yeah, and I guess the extra Q would clear after that point. I don't think it's going to save that much. Remember, 3 grubs from BLG makes it so nasty to play through this. Anyone's Legend, if they take that dragon fight 10 minutes from now, 15 minutes from now, when it's 3 items, 4 items, hyper late game, I think they win those kind of fights.
Yeah.
Like you have a long range comp. The terrain on that dragon is very good for Poppy, very good for the Ornn to get that knock up against the wall too. They have double kind of terrain scaling champions, the Ornn and the Poppy, which work very well when there's a wall behind the enemy to threaten those stuns and knockbacks onto. They didn't have the gold for that fight. They do get that dragon. Maybe that will then open up a future opportunity for BLG to slip up again, not get themselves like the clean snowball which they want, and AL can take a later game dragon fight, but it's looking increasingly less likely because BLG, they're just rolling through the map. They're getting a ton of extra gold. I don't realistically know how you kill the Talia on a good timing, and Bin is very far ahead on the Jace doing stuff like that.
And I appreciate the fact that Shank's gone towards the Lich Bane and where he's going to have the side lane. The Siphon power becomes quite valuable with the Lich Bane, but as it stands, Atakan's being started. You just chunk Shanks out. It's a known quantity because of that ward, so Anyone's Legend are going to come and contest on a decent timer here. Flandre has got the call, the Forge Gold back. The Weaver's Wall, solid. Keeps Tarzan in there, looking for the Keeper's Verdict. Gets interrupted mid-jump though, and he dies. As Elk will pick it up, trying to back away as Kyle does burn out, as it's picked up by Bait. One of the red buff, the bullet time comes on through and blows up Hope. He doesn't get to survive. Bin flashes on forwards again, finds some more value. Shanks now in the back of the Dragon Pit. Where do you go? There's no flash, and there's Victor. It's a glorious devolution. Back to Monkey we go.
BLG swing through the fight, cleanly get the objective, and this is an objective where they don't have the good terrain for Anyone's Legend. They can't find themselves a good fight. Wonderful Weaver's Wall to lock AL into that poor terrain for themselves. They'll get to walk away from this fight after taking another turret too, and the gold lead, which was, as you were saying, about 5,000, is almost doubled at this point. 9,000 gold going on 10,000 after that. Anyone's Legend, this eventually would have been a good fight, but they're fighting far too early into the game. They've not been given a choice. BLG are forcing the issue. Fantastic Weaver's Wall. Box Tarzan into the worst scenario. That is why Knight Talia is so respected and why I consider it to be one of his greatest champions.
Kyle runs away. H1 leaves on that one. Flandre, Hope. And caught by the back end of that bullet time, and Bin just gets to hop on forward, throw down an accelerated shot blast, and then at this point, Shanks, where on earth do you go?
This is such a different game 1 and game 2.
Yeah.
You know, game 1, I think we saw the best of anyone's legend, where you see very quickly punishing mistakes. Words are hard, and apparently Shanks' HP bar is hard to hold on to as well. We'll see Tarzan around the corner.
Elk coming on over. Hang on, how are you going to make...
I think there was a teleport away from Shanks. Someone, he had the press the attack active. Someone was getting hit.
I thought that was a Make It Rain I saw there, but Misfortune wasn't there.
Yeah.
I don't...
Look,
Huh.
Look, Misfortune had the press the attack available, so they'd auto-attacked the champion 3 times.
Yeah.
Don't actually know who was there. Maybe I just missed track of that. What happened here? So, ult on towards the top side. Tower's actually dead. Yeah, I know in the replay it looks a little different now, but yeah, that's how that fight started on the top side.
Gotcha. That does make sense. Also worth noting.
Oh, Poppy ult! It would have Poppy ult. Right. Yeah, it's like, how do you get over that? I did forget the Poppy was in the game.
Yeah, that does make sense. And it was possibly used to Make It Rain, so that does make sense. Dragon has spawned again once more after the violence of the last few minutes, and that will be secured by Billy Gaming.
You know, that's the kind of objective which AL would like to fight eventually, but again, they haven't really given that choice at this point.
William playtime.
What?
Billy Gaming.
Oh, yeah, that's one way to translate it.
Yeah.
That's like if you take the Star Wars movies and translate it through like multiple languages a really large amount of times to see how incomprehensible.
We are for the big.
We are for the big.
Which is a wonderful line.
Yeah, there's like one line which is like, he's right behind me, which is, he is in my behind.
Which is just not great.
Which is, again, shout out JFIC Nation.
I am not deigning that with response.
This is the bonuses of having your own co-stream. You do not have concept warnings. BLG pushing up well across the map. AL not really being given a chance to recoup their gold.
Huh. Well, Dragon...
Just carry on, Sam.
Look, I'm saying it's been a bit rainy and windy out here in Berlin. Maybe take the washing and take the pegs off.
Shut up. Shut up. 2 items for AL. I don't think it's going to be enough for them to do that much. Now, the question is further in this series, which of these playstyles is going to come out on top, right? Because anyone's legend, they managed to break the early pressure before here comes Knight forcing another play.
That's a little deep, Knight. He's in a bit of danger here, but he's not taking that much damage yet. But the corner force got the force to flash, and Knight doesn't even have his Saras pop. You feel like if he got that deep, you should be dying, and he just gets to walk away.
And that's kind of worst case scenario for Knight, where you jump into a Poppy W with extra CC follow-up. That should be death, but you know, as you're saying, very far ahead, has the Magi's too, so it would have been more meaningful to die at that point. So AL do see off one play, but at the end of the day, they still aren't using the Call of the Forge God, so it's not like they don't come away with losing any tools either.
Flash for the dredge line, and Shanks steps forwards. I appreciate the aggression again. Always nice when On is being a little psycho. It's his best trait, sometimes his worst as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think you can say that about multiple members on BLG. BLG,
Yeah.
Throughout, and this is applied to all of their history. By the way, let's just talk. Look, this game is largely over. The gameplay that will come from this point is largely going to, we've already talked about the stuff. The story of BLG is very interesting. It's tied to one of the key members of anyone's legend as well, and Tabi as their coach. BLG in 2022, you know, this is a team which have brought in high-level players before. They have hired former world champions. I believe that both Zeka and Kingham were on BLG at points. 2023, they trust in a core of Shun, Elk, and On, who are players which were not great players yet. They bring in, of course, at that point, Yagao, an old veteran, someone who can kind of be a stable helm in the mid lane, might not be the hyper carry, but someone that can bring them a level ahead within communications. Then Bin, who'd been that world finalist in Suning in 2020. They went 1-1 in all of their series every week in spring 2023, up until Tabe came in as coach just before playoffs and made this team into something special. They went from being, okay, middle of the pack, but very inconsistent, to a team that went to finals in spring, in MSI. Kyle's probably going to die. And they became a super team after that point.
Trying to turn that around. The gravity field afterwards, though. Nice punish, as the rest of BLG weren't quite there in time. A little bit overeager on that pick. Well punished. Grand Starfall comes on through. Looking to punish. Aegisil comes on through. The bullet time is not that fantastic. Actually, as Kyle gets to jump on through. Phase1 binds time onto Hope. Doesn't get that much value. They've lost Knight as well. That's 2 members dead.
Huge mistakes from BLG. We were just waxing lyrical about that rise to greatness. Tabe made them into the team that they were in 2023 when Knight joined them afterwards. Tabe is now an anyone's legend. Become the strategist. Knight down. Bin forced out of the play. They do have decent damage, but this is the chance that AL's been waiting for.
The patented BLG overforce. Is this the moment where the game begins to flip? Anyone's legend with lots of zone control. Remember the scaling, remember the ability to prevent people getting in, and dangerously low is Kyle. Needs to back on out. Hope over the back of the pit. Elk in danger. Has still got the flash and the barrier. Beginning to drain on out. These get off the Baron. They've lost one already. Shanks out. Another auto. This is all gone wrong. It's a full house. 3 for Elk and 2 for Bin.
BLG make a mistake, but anyone's legend do not get to capitalize. Elk and Bin were still alive despite Knight and On going down, and BLG just swing the wallet over the head and deck AL.
I'm not sure that's a wallet. That was the whole bloody bank's fault. They've been squished Looney Tunes style. The safe with the 90 pounds on the side of it comes careening down from the heavens to flatten anyone's legend. You felt like there was a moment, but it was all for naught. It was swiftly snuffed out, and BLG strike back in game 2, Empire style.
BLG, a terrible game 1 for them on individual levels. Much better in game 2. They took the early skirmishes. They rolled. First game had a good matchup into Knight. Still fell behind, but did pretty well. Second game was blasted by Knight.
Yeah.
Knight's Talia was so good. Third game, good matchup for him again. Patreon does go towards the Neferi, so he's not the engaged threat now. The engage is Knight on a Realm Warp, Bin on the ultimate, and Patreon is actually taking up more of a carry role. Neferi good against the Trundle and versus the Cho'Gath. BLG, this is not a very coherent draft. I think that there are multiple targets. You want to be playing at range with the Smolder. The ult over the top helps. I don't really see how Smolder, Neferi, and Rise all play together as 3 very different carries. Anyone's legend, I think, though, much easier for them. Ash ult with a Callisto, getting someone in place. Trundle ultimate follow-up from very long range as well. BLG, they spot an opening. Anyone's legend will be punished accordingly. Onto the Rift we go.
Return of the Laogandia chance. You gotta love it. Well, alone here. Was a little stack up from BLG, but I don't think they're going to go face check that, and I think all eyes inevitably are going to be looking towards this bot lane early on. The Kalista Ashe has one thing to do, and that is push.
Yeah, it is, but you know, for me, I don't think BLG want to do much except a soak farm. They're not fighting in that lane, so while yes, the Kalista Ashe is going to be pushing in, I don't know whether they're going to get that much from it. Bin is potentially stacking up for a play at the level 1. He's going to help. He's going to teleport in immediately. He was looking for a level 1 to see if he could get a play. Teleporting in early now. I mean, let's be honest, Cho'Gath doesn't punish you that hard, but it does mean that your resets, you prefer it now at the level 6. You can ult back towards lane.
Just a bit afraid of a potential level 1 look in between the Trundle and the Ashe and all these things. Just having that extra man down there on the offense.
Failed there from On to body block the volley, by the way. That's what they're looking to do.
And that's the bone plating down as well now.
All 3 minions claimed by Elk. Managed to hit all of them, so you managed to get access to that long cooldown at level 1. You start W on the Smolder when you don't really want to fight.
And understandably, they do not want to fight this lane. A little look in at Shanks here on the Cassiopeia. When was the last time we spoke? It was with Shanks back in 2023. It's been a little minute.
Yeah, it's been 2 years since he played it. He was always the Cassiopeia player here in the LPL. He was the biggest player of it. Good to see him return towards an Old Faithful. Double W there from Elk. Gets level 2, uses the E first, gets some stacks.
Handshake comes on through. Level 2 is there as
that's
well.
it. Hang on.
They got level 2 first.
They got level 2 first, and they get an insane trade for where they're supposed to be in this kind of lane. You're supposed to be eating a lot of poke. Level 2, level 3 is where the Kalista Ashe really come online, of course.
You do sometimes see things like Kyle or like Ashes of the past used to run Barrier and just run at people at level 1 with Hail of Blades and Barrier and just say, yo, I win this. Not happened this game so far. Again, it's still very early on. It's not like the lane has been broken or anything. It's still anyone's legend with the control of the wave, and they are slow stacking this.
So it is, but what they really wanted to do is have some minions die. That's not been the case here. Like, Elk is actually going to be even in farm as it comes out of these first 2 waves, which you should not have versus the Callista Ashe. We were talking, you know, after game 1 about the inconsistencies of Elk and On. I think they've forever been quite an inconsistent bot lane. Of course, their highs, some of the very best in the world. Their lows, definitely something which they want to be avoiding, though, on the other side of it. As the wave crashes in, yeah, they're only going to be 2 CS behind, something like that.
Yeah. And I love that conversation about Elton, because it's such an odd one, right? Because they are, as you said, somewhat inconsistent, and it kind of speaks to the kinds of players they are. Remember, On is one of our better 1v1 players in the league. He's actually played a number of the 1v1s for sides, so like, and won the majority of them. He's always had that skill set too.
Baytron makes a mistake there.
Pillar, gonna be forced to back away as the chomps come on through. Flash for auto. I think Tarzan just gets it.
Baytron doesn't use the hop to get over the pillar. As soon as you see the pillar, the hop, the eviscerate before the pillar, you know that you die there. Big mistake from Baytron.
That's really not great. It means a first back phage for the Trundle. Oh boy.
So he gets the Scuttle Crab, gets the kill. Baytron, big mistake, using the flash and the eviscerate poorly. Baytron, you know, the player from BLG with many eyes on him as the late replacement to the roster. He's done well at making games not about him a lot of the time for BLG. Now he's making games about him in a bad way.
That one's not pretty. Again, it's not like the game is over or anything, but that's not what you want to see. Flash from Tarzan with a chomp up, gets another slow, steals that attack speed, and that's a very dead Baytron. Blandre topside, eats a roar of the Slayer. There's the Soul Ferns to prevent too much trade back. Bin, as the Scion, often does get shoved. Kind of a ridiculous amount of wave clear in that kit.
The early shove from Scion is always very good. The thing about Scion is that you lose shove when people start threatening to kill you, which is not often unless you're, you know, Gwen or someone like the Yorick, something like that.
Me piloting Scion because I'm bad.
Yeah, that's true. That is another thing too. Skill issue can be a thing.
I was expecting some difference. Like,
No. Look, you said it first, so it feels very valid. Elk now switching out of this lane. This is now a huge point. You get to have Scion in a 1v2, and you get to have the Smolder escaping through from the Callista. It was only about 5 CS down. We'll collect a wave on top side, so we'll be fairly even on that point. Elk surviving the early game, having teleport as well. This is a huge advantage for BLG in the bot lane. Specifically. Of course, Baytron dying, that is a problem. He should not have died there, as we were saying. All you have to do is not E early, and that's what he did. As soon as you see that E, you should know this guy is dead. There's a big problem there. But at least the Smolder's in a good spot.
Not pretty. At the very least, though, they do get the very early dragon here, and one of the additional win conditions that anyone's legend can force for is just a good soul. They get the early mountain dragon, which is no bad thing, actually, when you've got a Trundle and a Cho'Gath on your team anyway. And actually, eventually, Cassiopeia tends to get a fair amount of resist just off her build. Things like Seraphs and Rowers and all the things that she often looks at.
Whoa. They give you HP, not resist.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
yeah, actually, that's a fair point.
So say,
she doesn't get to buy boots either.
It's been a long time since she built, like, Abyssal Rod. So she gets... Now, the thing is, the point you make is, you get the resist which work well with the HP, but you don't actually build HP that often. Resist that often.
Does Cassiopeia get resist from passive at all?
No, it's move speed.
Yeah, it does move speed, yeah. They've been forced to flash. Nice pillar again, Tarzan. Good accuracy with those. Does look like a little bit like a fizzy bottle, that. In fact, I think it is.
It is, yes. Yeah. That is in fact what the skin's going to be. Tarzan level 6 on a very good timing hit.
Soda!
Yeah. It's the world champion. Hang on a second. Handshake, is that going to land? Knockup doesn't hit.
Fair amount of work. We'll scream really loud and get Handshook back in.
And Elk's just... Well, the good thing there is Elk just gets to stack a lot on him. It's just nice there.
I feel like that would be a good negotiating tool. For all that Renata did go for the firm handshake afterwards, just screaming really loudly to just say, no, there will be no negotiations.
Ah!
Yeah, that would work for me. I'm like, oh, okay, I want to talk to this guy. He's crazy.
You're right about one thing, Master. The negotiations were short. Now, typically the Scion is safe on weak side. Against the Trundle, I think that's much less of a thing, especially when the Callista can reset aggro for their support as well. Very hard to play around this. Tarzan... Once again, walk up towards Baytron. Baytron, I'm not gonna lie, like that death early on and things like that, where he pops the W early into Tarzan. Like,
expect better. It's not
I'm just like, it feels like he doesn't know the threat of the Trundle, and now you're behind the Trundle, it gets worse, especially if it gets an auto attack onto you. That phage move speed will make it much harder to escape. He not quite cancelled there for Blandre.
Let's get the Feral Scream, at least after start throwing out some Vorpal spikes.
Yeah, he's going towards the a Catalyst, so that's still only built for Rod of Ages. Huh, is he really going for Rod of Ages?
They're kind of doing acro yoga here, just tossing each other up in the air.
That didn't even know that was a thing.
Do you not?
Well, I didn't know that they had a name for it.
Yeah, it's when you like it's like when you have like the two people yoga doing like the like handstand stuff on top of each other's hands and stuff.
Today I learned.
I've got a few friends that are quite good at it apparently, so they were waxing lyrical about it on a holiday we went on one time.
Nice. Elk, only 10 CS behind again in the AD carry matchup. That's a huge win for BLG. I don't think they should be fighting this. If they get to secure 1, I think they consider that a win. They don't really want to be playing that much around. Remember, there is an Ashe ult to be played right now, and there is no hostile takeover.
CI, as in comes the Achu. Bit of a sneeze there from Elk. Now potentially in danger. The arrow lands, but it will be ulted through. Initial grub secured by the side of base runner, then ult out. Comes Smolder's mom. I wonder if we're trying to get a steal on the second one.
I actually think that's for stacks. He gets 4 stacks.
Oh, wow. It's good, yeah.
He hits all 4 champions present there. BLG actually get what they came for here. They get 1 of the grubs. They don't give up 3, and they don't lose anyone. In fact, Elk getting some stacks off of that, he's not too dissatisfied. Plus, this is a moment in time where the Renata didn't have level 6, that BLG realistically should never have looked to fight that in the first place. They get some stacks on Smolder, they get to deny the 3 grubs, and they don't lose anyone in the process. That's a win for BLG at that point in the game.
Flandre just used Beast to get a stack off the cannon minion, and then throws down the Miasma into the Noxious Blast, and it's an interesting one, is this matchup, because of course, back in the day, Ryze used to hate the Cassiopeia matchup. You play a little bit too close to her active range to have fun with it.
Yeah, every time you try and do damage, the Cassiopeia is damaging you right back. So, a lot of this game will be about Beichuan, Knights, actually the whole team of BLG, they all have tools to do this, to somehow weave their way around the Cassiopeia and either engage so hard onto her with the SAR knockups, and like the follow-up from the hostile takeover to make sure the game is not about the Cassiopeia disengaging for the rest of the team.
Do you like my weaving joke there,
Sam,
Alex?
I was trying to finish my analytical point, so I tried not to engage with it too much. I was like, I'll let that sit there. But like, if it happens too much, I don't get to actually talk about the important thing in the game, you know?
yeah, but weaving jokes.
It's like, my dude, maybe not what I'm talking about, like the win condition which could determine this game. Another Scuttle Crab taken by Tarzan there, again, doing really well in the individual matchup. Tarzan, when he's ahead in a jungle matchup, is so crucial. He is, on many people's lists, very high up on the MVP standings. For myself, you know, I think that he has been so iconic for the teams which he's been on. Particularly now he's teamed up with Tabe as the coach as well. Done such a good job of revolutionizing teams he's been a part of.
His very best here at the very least. There's see a little bit more, I think, out of this bot lane as yet. It's gotten to a decent CS lead, and the Ashe is getting towards the Dirk, so there's some power there. But if I see the next 5 minutes and this lead hasn't turned into something genuinely meaningful rather than a 300 gold lead, then there's more of an issue. Top side, bit of an engage onto Flandre. Rupture comes on down, slowed down by the smite. Flash on forward with a set of Dark and Daggers. Decimating Smash is interrupted. Still look for the auto. Another Rupture. Beichuan takes the aggro as Bin's going to try and get the last order and does so.
Bin not going to die on the way out. There were a couple of really good ruptures, but Cho'Gath, not the best versus the... Hang on, Knights.
Does get hit by that into the Miasma. Wonderful angle. Petrifying Gaze means that Knight has nowhere to go at all.
Had the flash, didn't use it in the right way. Thought he could maybe outstep it. Steps closer to the Cassiopeia. He goes down. Quick kill. Saves that flash, I guess. Elk gets some stacks onto Kyle there without the ultimate now onto him. BLG take 1 kill on one part of the map, lose 1 elsewhere.
Well, 100% hit rate on the arrow so far from KL, even if, of course, the initial one was onto an ulting silence, so didn't get all that much value. Either way, nice pick off from the mid lane, and turns around what had been a nice play topside for BLG.
Gold lead, 1,000 to the side of anyone's legend, but again, I think Elk getting more stacks there. Heal put onto him as well. Hope needing to play quite respectfully there. Elk stacking up okay, actually, for this point in the game, I think, considering the laning matchup he's into. Typically, mid lane Smolder actually stacks a little quicker than because he has easier 1v1s than 2v2s. He's a much better 1v1 champion in select matchups like the Yone or Corki and stuff like that than in 2v2s, especially in something like this. Now, we say the same about, you know, Senna when she's into bad lane matchups. There is no ult from Kyle. Might need to force the flash here, though, if he does so.
Missed the handshake, the heal for the additional speed, meaning that meant that On was going to have to burn the additional stun. We've seen some very aggressive heals for move speed this game from both bot lanes.
It's always the way when Ashe supports in the game, and you have double range versus double ranged. It tends to be very valuable that way. Elk recalls going towards mid lane, and as you're saying, it was, you know, like a 20 CS lead. It's not really grown. Not really. It was 10 in the very early game. It's gone to 20. It's not really done that much, though, considering that Elk is still, you know, within touching distance of this game, has that first item going towards the Essence Reaver. We saw some Shojin first, I think, elsewhere. Yeah. I think typically Essence Reaver into Infinity Edge is like the crazy spike now that the Q benefits from the Infinity Edge extra damage. This game, BLG, as long as they don't fall too far behind, and I think right now being under 1,000 gold, I think they're fine with that. Anyone's Legend, good advantage in the jungle before this point, but that hasn't, you know, gotten out of control. They need to find a way to force fight, get themselves onto this next dragon will be a huge win condition. If they get onto Infernal Soul Point, that's when you start to perk your ears up as an AL fan.
Glad to see you're thinking what I'm thinking, because that, I think, is their way out of this scenario, is find a good Soul Point before Smolder hits the critical mass of stacks. Is going to be Infernal Soul as well, which is really valuable when you've got a double range bot lane, when you've got the Cassiopeia. Trundle and Cho'Gath pretty good at proccing it too. You can do some good work there to try and turn that into a win condition. Bin, though, getting a lot of value on this top side as how to shove it into this Cho'Gath pretty relentlessly. Died on the turret early and gets another plate in that top lane.
However, as opposed to other games, this is not a game where a Scion can solo carry. You're against a Trundle, you're against a Cassiopeia. That will shred you. Even if you get very, very tanky on the side, there will be answers towards you. Elk taking some damage back, but again, getting stacks from trading through onto enemy champions with abilities. Gets the body block there this time. 2 minutes until the next dragon.
I will note, however, despite going for the double range bot side, despite getting most of the early grubs, less plates than BLG, pretty significantly. They got like 1, 2 in mid lane, they got 1 bot. It's not that fantastic in the grand scheme of things. Scion, though, with an unstoppable onslaught, looking for an angle, lands it onto the Ashe, who body bolts it deliberately, but pulled back with the handshake. Needs to find a way to flash. There's the barrier. We're still trying to hold on. The hostile takeover comes through, but Knight's already there with a Realm Warp. Wonderful sequence of ultimates to make Hope's escape impossible.
Knight gets the kill, Summon is lost from Hope, and the ultimate blown too. That is a huge moment because it gives BLG a pressure valve and some extra gold when they're in one of their weaker parts of the game, which is early on. Ashe is thrown forwards, and that's now a big tool that won't be available, I think, for the Dragon.
Big moment there. I genuinely don't know after the play started to come on through what more Hope and Kyle could have done there, really. Kyle body blocks the Scion, gets pulled out. Elk now actually in danger, has to flash away as a good pillar came on down.
Shouldn't have been walking up that far. Now, this is something which BLG have, as a team now, been caught out by. Bin, Beitran, and Elk, all a little disrespectful of that pillar. Losing the flash there onto the Smolder, very important before what could be a crucial fight in 30 seconds around the Dragon. Anyone's Legend, they'll take the Herald, they'll get the Chomp onto it as well from the Cho'Gath to get the extra stacks, to go up to 5 stacks there. Oh, they don't use it because maybe they want to save it for the Dragon in 20 seconds, actually. They choose not to do that. That makes some sense. But BLG, they really need to deny the Soul Point. They'll teleport back in. They do have decent gold. They're actually even in gold in the AD carries. But if Elk had the flash too, would be much more confident taking this fight.
And again, it's not something we've talked about as yet, but the additional part of AL in this mid game is you got Kalista Ren and Cho'Gath Smite and
teleport behind them. I don't know if they spot this, but hang on a second. Where's this going? Does Knight see that? Yes, he does. Flandre back out onto the map. He'll be able to chomp the objective, and they have the Kalista. Very good Drake securing composition. They'll be able to get themselves the Soul Point. The BLG not even contest. It's going to be late towards it. If you want to fight this, you're way too late.
And they've got enough spears in there already. They are finally turning up. They're trying to jump onto Hope. I apologize, there are no spears. Hope's in danger. Come tries to hop over the wall, fails the hop and dies. That's the pick off. They got the Dragon secured. Hound's Pursuit comes on forward. Tarzan tries to turn and deliver on the frozen domain. The petrifying gaze makes sure that Bin is traded back.
The big thing there is just that Trundle ultimate.
Tarzan is still going to get some more value. Can't quite get anything else. So they continue to hunt for more damage. Getting some shots down from this Ashe. Continuing to trade for more. Elk hopping on forward with that flat. Base one eviscerating in as well. Needs to back away. Elk has got no flash already for the mid lane. Does take Trundle with him. Bailout's too late. Can't keep him back alive after he got the kill. Shanks flashes over the wall. That's a Flandre to flash out as well. That ends up being, I think, a 2 for 2.
3 for 2. You can see that Hope died at the start of the fight. So it's the 3 for 2, all things said and done. And this is the first time we see the value of the Trundle ult in the fight. Most important skill, I think, actually, for anyone's Legend, is that Trundle ultimate. You must pay attention to when that ultimate comes through, because it completely shreds one target in the fight. And in this case, it's Bin, the Scion, who has a lot of gold, but he can't use it in that play. BLG lose the Soul Point, and they only get 1 kill in the advantage. they're playing on a razor's edge now. If they lose another fight and it gets towards that Infernal Soul, they might get outscaled even with the Neferi and the Smolder being so powerful. Right here, Hope out of position, Baytron jumps onto him. This is a big moment to see that the AD carries out of it. But watch what happens here. You just look down at the Trundle ultimate. As soon as that is cast, the fight turns around. Looks like it's good. Ultimate goes down. Sion is not the tank anymore. The fight turns. Most important skill in this game to track.
Massive value, and then of course the fight continues because anyone starting to think they can get a little bit more, begin to hunt for some more of those autos with the Ashe, and then it gets a bit ugly as Elk continues to hunt for more. Ends up at 2 kills at the end of this. Not bad for the Smolder.
If Elk ended up having Flash, this play is completely playable, and the Bailout does come through in time to get like the extra, you know, life coming through, but they don't get the kill afterwards. I wonder whether they could have saved another kill to bring him back. That potentially could have been available. He does get a lot of stacks from that. 129 now, so his second evolve needs a bit more time to get towards that 225. Quite low on the stacks, actually, thinking of... Well, no, it normally comes through around, let's say, 22 to 23 minutes. So track how we can do that with the next items coming through.
Shanks attempts to get charged on. We're about to get hit by that decimating smash. Teleport coming in towards base, and also looking. Is the ult up? Yes, it is. So it doesn't pull the trigger on the petrifying gaze. Gonna try and play for this turret. Tarzan around as well.
Yeah, Shanks using the move speed while Baytron on top side. Track out that Trundle up. When does that get pulled?
Baytron pops over the wall. Is safe enough. Nearly interrupted by Tarzan. Nice idea. Can't quite secure it.
Bin missing his ultimate onto Shanks. If that hits, the actual knockup portion of it, pretty sure Shanks dies. So bad ult accuracy from Bin there. If that hits, that would have been a free kill, I think. Now he gets the free farm on top side. Baytron, hang on, you need to be afraid of the Ashe ult here.
Attack. There's the Ashe ult. Uses the W a little bit greedily, but has the Mikhail's behind him, so a bit safer than I thought initially. In comes the miasma. Puts Bin in a dangerous position, has got flash, will be forced to use it. Realm Warp to work around, and he gets out of there. The decimating smash buys time.
Yeah, Bin really struggling on the Sion. I don't think he's used to playing against that Trundle, and you can see it against the Cassiopeia. I don't think he's used to playing against that either. The extra movement speed from hitting the Q makes it harder to land those skill shots. Bin on the Sion was 1,000 gold ahead, now behind. 2 minutes until that dragon. That will be kind of doomsday, I think, for BLG. You do not want to give that Infernal Soul over. Yes, you scale very well with the Smolder. Give up the mid lane turret because of that Herald going over. Smolder will stack up as best as he can, but BLG, this composition is not easy to play. It's not that coherent. I think the Neferi, the Smolder, the Rise, they all play in quite different ways. And it's going to be quite hard for BLG to play around that now, because actually, even the Sion and the Renata have to play very differently too. The Sion can't sit in the front line the way that he wants to. What Sion will have to do is go up into the fight and then ult backwards. But how do you do that into a Smolder pillar, into the Trundle pillar? Very hard to do.
Not that easy. Very challenging, and I think especially with the way BLG kind of showed how they want to play the composition. It's like, look, when we saw that pick onto Hope right in the mid lane, we see the Sion ult come in, and then Neferial, and then the Rise, the Realm Warp. You've always got another tool to get on top of someone, another kind of gap closer of sorts to chase onto people. But that can be hard when you've got the Fate's Call and the Miasma and the Pillars and the Ruptures and Feral Screams that we've all been talking about. Elk. So hold of that red buff.
He'll get Infinity Edge now.
Yeah.
So that's why they're zooming in on him. He kills the red buff, probably for the gold, actually, to get him towards the second item. If that is an Infinity Edge available for the second fight, which it is, BLG suddenly have a carry very much online. Now, he doesn't have 225. That is a problem. Those stacks are crucial for a lot of these big plays. Strangely, Annual's Legend choosing not to fight for this dragon. Very surprised that going towards the Atacana, it's on Vision. BLG, I don't think they care. They'd rather just get that dragon, extend the game. Anyone's like, they should have been fighting around this dragon.
Agree.
That's a mistake from them.
Yeah, I think that's a big one. And again, they'd gotten to a very early soul point because they'd forced him. I remember Trundle was on that with bot lane at 5 minutes, about as early as you can go on the dragons. And they're willing to give that one up. That will give another moment here for the Smolder to get towards that breakpoint. Knight gets a tower bot side. I'm not a fan of that, and neither, I think, are you.
No, I'm not. And now BLG, I think they make the right decision to not give the gold to the Sion. They give it to the Rise instead. Cassiopeia is doing the same on the other side. Sion won't determine this game. Perhaps a Rise and a Cassiopeia can. So the Cassiopeia getting gold obviously quite big, goes towards the Bloodletter's Curse. Of course, Cassiopeia very good at that because she has DOT in her kit. And of course, that Shred, very nice. Now, again, if Cassiopeia and Trundle hit the Sion doesn't get to exist within a team fight. BLG, you have a 2-item Smolder getting up towards that 225 now. You won't be able to do much there. Kyle has the flash, has cholesterol. Alk really needs that 225 ASAP.
Trying to play around mid lane a little bit here on. Let's off a touch, and there was a bush bait happening there. There was a number of players in on. Wisely, I think, does not walk forwards there. Mid lane turret. be a lovely win here for BLG if they can secure it. But as it stands, they're just going to try and give Elk as much freedom as he can to shove. Shanks, the player with the most gold in the game right now.
He temporarily has a very big level advantage over Knight because his Rod of Ages was built as first item, whereas Knight's was a little bit delayed. No, he's a little bit delayed. No, I guess they both went for the same thing. However, worth noting, the later into the game the Rod of Ages procs, the more likely it is to proc on a higher level. So you actually make more raw experience up in that difference. So the fight in 2 minutes or whatever, if your fight happens in 2 minutes or beyond that, then Knight will be much closer in terms of that XP. Elk, again, closer towards those stacks. Not really hitting that many champions right now. I'm actually wondering if they want to give him some Raptors for the extra 6 stacks or something. You can't afford to have the Neferi go for that far behind. Of course, Neferi at 2 items too, becoming a real threat. Cho'Gath, not safe versus Smolder and Neferi as well. So what I think, but this is one of those games where like the tank top lane is so often used to feeling invulnerable. Not in this game on either side.
Very challenging indeed. It's not like Rise is exactly bad in the tank side, but it's just difficult, I think, this game for Knight to just freely stand and deliver. There's a lot of people here who can punish him when he's trying to be throwing out skills in his active range.
Yeah.
And we've already had that conversation already. 3 minutes or so until that dragon. Smolder tool trying to build up. I think both teams trying to make sure they're ready for that one, because at that point, Baron will have been alive for a minute or two as well. And a significant enough fight there with either of these comps winning probably turns into Baron and a game-winning advantage.
No, it's dead on even gold, folks. Dead on even gold for this point in the game. We're getting towards huge items on 2 scaling compositions. I do think that Anyone's Legend, their composition plays better together on the whole. That being said, you know, the Cassiopeia is ahead, but the Callista isn't. The Callista is actually
behind now.
Behind because Elk's been gifted so much gold. Yes, it's still a 2 item. The Callista is not going to be irrelevant. I think Anyone's Legend's composition is much easier to play. Oh, Flandre walking in towards base 1. Might be a flash blown hit.
Cancelled his back, looks for the call of the pack, brings some more dogs back up. There's the Rupture, misses out on the Eviscerate as a result, begins to turn that around and quite get as much as he was hoping for. I appreciate the look in.
Yeah, I guess you can always look for that silence into the Rupture. Beitron could have held onto his Eviscerates a little longer. 200 stacks, not quite slow on the stacking actually. Can he get 25 in 2 minutes? Might have to have a little bit of help from hitting some enemy champions. Might get it midway through the dragon fight if it happens.
Yeah, a little slow. Again, sometimes happens with the Smolders when it's like, okay, I actually haven't been able to hit people for a while. I've had to play a little bit safe.
Yep.
And that just happens with Baron Rush.
Baron
with Cassiopeia and Trundle.
It is, and remember, if they get some, if they get a Cho'Gath in here, it's an easy secure.
And look to make this one down to half HP. On now, potentially in danger. Arrow lands on him. It's a handshock on the other side. Looking to turn off the Baron. Back they go down to 5,000 HP. Base one now coming on over. Sion goes on in onto Kyle, who will get Fates called out to safety. Hostile takeover allows some space for Base to get in and try and steal it. Can't quite. Nice idea. Trundle secures the Baron. Fight afterwards commences as Kyle throwing down volley after volley after volley. As Knight overloads though and forces Kyle to retreat back. Doesn't quite die. Not quite enough damage to work on. That 1 minute until the dragon. Base one eviscerates over the wall looking for the Darking Daggers. Reset from Kyle. But it means it's now 4v5 because the Ash isn't here. Myers but comes on down. Trundle is on top of Bin. Trying to get the damage back as the Pela comes on down. Force the flash. And Renata's dead. Flash up from Tarzan. Who begins the job. He's the king of the jungle. And of the trolls as well. Rumble from Knight. We can't get in. The miasma stops everything and he burns away.
The Trundle ult, the most important skill again. You must always pay attention to who is ulting, and BLG don't track that ult. And Sion can't determine the fight again. Tarzan, the game-changing Trundle play.
Can they end the game here? They've got 30 seconds. I think they can just keep parching through mid with the wave.
I think they can. Elk didn't ever get towards a 2-2-5 stack. Slow stacking on the Smolder means that BLG were not ready for that fight.
14 seconds on Elk, 20 on Knight. They need to try and hold the wave here. Arrow lands, it's onto Bin, not the best target perhaps. Decimating smash, interrupted by the pillar. Nexus turret unwinnable one about to fall. There is a teleport on Knight as well. How much do they want to punish this? Elk up, has TP as well. Can look to potentially come in behind. Sion ults forward, is interrupted by the pillar. Wonderful from Tarzan.
Ben goes down, Shanks goes forwards, and Bin has no idea how to play against this Trundle, getting ulted in every fight. Pillar's landing, Elk forced into a bad spot.
He's going to get run out the miasma and the petrifying blaze. It's not quite enough as the Baylor comes on through and finally die, and they just get to stand and keep fighting. It's a feral scream of triumph from Flandre. Knight in a 1v1 with the Trundle, and Tarzan just hits him over the head again and again and again. And Anyone's Legend win the second game. Series points.
BLG have no idea how to deal with the Trundle from that.
Facing a last pick. It is the Corki. Now, is that going mid or
It'll
bot?
be going mid lane. It's good.
Probably mid, yeah.
It'll be going into mid lane. You want Corki into like the magic damage matchup if you can help it, because he's mainly physical damage now. Both teams heavy dive. BLG have the Galio ult for defense. They have the repel for defense, but obviously Elise is not nearly as tanky as Leona on the other side. I think BLG walk away with a better draft than last time. I still think it's harder to play though. BLG, you know, they have to get leads on the Elise. They have to get
Camille to a point
Camille
of
into a point of
Camille
power.
can't fall behind, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, Camille does well against the Ambassador in the early levels of the game, but BLG have given themselves another difficult composition. Anyone's Legend is like
Potentially the final time today. Crowds into yeah. Very expressive Hope headband in chat there. Chat in the crowd there. I don't think that counts as chat.
No, not quite. Beitron walking up, putting down a ward. Worth noting as well, I think that Tarzan doesn't have the crazy jungle matchup advantage which he had in game 1 and in game 3. You know, with the Wukong playing very, very well in the early levels, and then outplaying the Vi, and then of course the Trundle into the Neferi, getting that early kill. I think this time is much harder to get ahead as the Nocturne versus the Skarner. Tarzan now moving away from the vision on Raptors, going towards his blue buff instead.
Does it that. From Kyle. Throwing some bombs around. About that for now. Hissing arrow comes on through.
Both skill shots missing at the first part. Worth noting it's the poke Varus, in case you hadn't mentioned that just yet.
Had not.
From that Comet. No real tank on the other side of anyone's Legend. Also keeps you longer range away from the Nocturne and from the Master. Sometimes you see people go on here and say, look, I'm going to just fight back against the engage and go for the high range stuff. If you go towards the edge of night, you do get your shield popped by the Nocturne ult first part. Denies the vision denial part of it. How much she's down. Not bad trading actually by Onel.
Yeah, interesting as well. You're going to start with the noxious, the neurotoxin slash venomous bite combo from On, rather than like the spidling or even a cocoon start. So going for a bit more consistent damage, even if it's less poke and a little shorter range. Been trading with Flandre aggressively early. I was having this conversation early as well, that I know this was a conversation right back when Ambessa released. People tried to put the Camille into it. The idea, as I understand it, is that basically Camille wants the short trains for the adaptive defense with the Q2. Ambessa wants longer trains, trying to get through, well, and get towards more longer trades with the Omnivamp with the ult.
Yeah, but obviously in the early levels you don't get the Omnivamp,
yeah.
So it's only post level 6. And also in early game, Camille's cooldowns are shorter than Ambessa's by a little while. First rank of each of the abilities, around about 10 seconds or so. Whereas when you've got the Camille Q, obviously goes down to a low cooldown later. It's similar-ish, but when you're trading into the adaptive defenses, that kind of play in early levels works better for the Camille. Early lane lead for bot lane, early push in top side. Mid lane, yeah, it's Corki into the Galio. Can't really, it's a bit of a wash in that matchup, the Corki. Obviously can get some push into that. The Galio's wins of wards and the AoE smash that can help him.
Trade here actually gets the adaptive defenses, and there you see it. Short trade in, hook shot Q2 back away with your adaptive defenses, and the Ambessa has to sort of take it.
I really hope that Ben has a good Camille game. I think he's had a difficult series. I think he's been underperforming. His Rumble, his Sion were poor, and part of the key reasons why they lost those early games in the series. Beitron Tarzan now matching up in the mid lane. Corki has pushed right now, can come over earlier.
H1, going to see whether he can fight this anyway. Camille also has shove though, which makes this a little bit more interesting.
But what we saw on the spectator there is that he's not actually going towards the scuttle crab. Even with that though, Tarzan's saying, alright, don't want to go over towards that. Ben, I guess with the long range hook shot, can follow up very long distances.
Decided not to give that threat up, and Tarzan goes, cool, I'll head towards bot side. Means I can defend bot lane a little bit more as well. Beishwan now looking for a wrap around mid. Had to be a known quantity. Shanks just steps forward, doesn't get hit by the Excel's impact. At the end of the world, eats a boulder to the face, courtesy of said upheaval. Or Gatling gun back, at least a little bit better.
And, you know, getting the damage back onto the jungler doesn't really matter. It only matters if you get it onto Knights. It's probably going to be close towards the point where we see mid laners teleport back in anyway, but losing a bit of a chunk on the... Yeah, losing a bit of a chunk opens up trades like this, which is actually a bit of a problem. Now, that comes from Beitran saying, okay, I can get a chunk off, and now Shanks needs to pay attention to the mid lane matchup much more carefully.
Well, still hanging around bot side, hasn't reset. Elk has come back to lane. Looks like we'll have a TP back from Hope as well, as we see that one on our screen, so it doesn't lead to all that much down the bot side.
Hope has that teleport, of course. Zig's always going towards that. Going towards the cleanse, which makes a lot of sense versus the Leona. Will help him later into the game. Of course, what will help him later into the game as well is the fact that he does have that Galio shield, which will help him a huge amount with that ultimate. I'm a little worried that AL will dive onto the Varus. They will get Varus ulted, get Galio ulted, and get trapped into the plate. Also, because we have been on the Camille, which is so famous for. I think BLG locked themselves into... It is a difficult play composition, but I do think if both teams are trying to dive at each other, I do think BLG have better defensive tools to deal with.
Kind of agree. And again, yes, there is more skill expression required from BLG, I think, on the whole. But they have got the tools to do it. They are probably a little shorter range, obviously, because they've got more melee options, whereas the Corki, the Ziggs, nominally a little bit further away from the play, even if Corki does like to Valkyrie into dives.
Bin was potentially threatening a bit of a held wave there under turret. Slight minion advantage for the side of AL, so he would have pushed in towards him. Had his recall cancelled though. Knight, did he just teleport back in? Yes, he did. Going towards the Rod of Ages build. Has that blasting one first. Wants a little bit more damage, a little less frontline, but hey, given that it's such a squishy game, Galio can actually be pain. Yeah. It's not going to be the Proto Belt more bursty, even more kind of like squishy for burst glass cannon
Bruisery build, yeah.
But this is, well, no, this is the Proto Belt is less of the bruiser burst.
No, I'm saying something for the rower build. He's going towards the
right. So I thought you said that like Proto Belt is the well, not sure I could agree with that one. Sorry.
That would be indeed be wrong. No, I'm saying the rower into Riftmaker kind of build, like Bruisery Galio, with where I was trying to go with that.
Shanks has taken a really good trade versus Knight. On the whole, Shanks has had very good laning phase versus Knight. Knight will go back. He can. He took some obviously very hard trades there. Cull and Tyr in for Shanks, but see why the Corki was picked into the Galio. Knight is a very good Galio. Keeping up in CS, trading his HP for it. Will regen largely out of this. E out of base, full HP coming out of it. Has that level 6 for the first play again. Galio is coming back from base, which does mean that he can fight on top river. There is a fight happening here right now, but watch out for that Galio if it comes through.
The hookshot can't quite land it, but Tarzan tries to buy some time. Public execution comes on through, but there's the hero's entrance. Tarzan flashing away. Been looking for a Q2, flashes out afterwards. Wonderful damage. He's got the honey fruit to keep himself topped off. How long does he have on the hookshot? Doesn't have the flash. There it is, and he gets to run away. Shanks, no mana.
1 for none in the top side. Bin, fancy mechanics. And as we were saying, yes, Knight took a bad trade against Shanks, but he has the ultimate to return to the play. He told his team, look, I can come back. Doesn't matter that I'm low HP right now. I have the global. They don't right now, and we can make this work. First kill of the game goes over towards Knight, which will get him closer towards that first item, the Rod of Ages, which will be coming in shortly, I suppose, after this. And anyone's legend, lose the first skirmish of the game. So we didn't see a lot of this on camera. Tarzan was fighting over the Scuttle Crab, and you know, Spell Shield comes through very early and means that it's not there for some big play afterwards. Galio lands onto 2 people here. I think Knight probably could have instant CC'd Tarzan in there, so maybe it could have been a little cleaner from him on the initial kill. Forces Bin's flash afterwards for it, but hey, still ends up securing that alongside Knight. Gets a little tap on the way out. Shanks, with the column that's here, doesn't exactly have the damage to kill.
No, he doesn't. Nice angle there. Gets the Q2 before the E-land, so isn't pulled back in the wrong direction. And then losing a little bit of a wave topside as a result, so actually evens up the gold lead there. So there is that. In the end, still fancy plays. The initial kill, that's good news there for BLG. And now rotate up to potentially contest for these grubs.
No Camille ult, no Galio ult. That's a problem. Tarzan does have ult. Hope doesn't have his either just yet, but actually just leveled up. I don't know if BLG should be taking this fight.
And there's the Paranoid, but the Impale comes on down. A lot of damage back. The Mega Inferno Bomb, pretty unreliable. Kyle burning, but not quite dead.
He's not going to be able to stick around, though, and that's a problem. So now, even though AL have the ultimate advantage, I really do think BLG can play this now.
No Paranoia, no Mega Inferno Bomb. They can look to turn around and go back. Alton did go looking for the pick onto Tarzan with a flash of his own early on in that play. Didn't quite get it. Claimed that second grub. 2 already. Happy enough. Another good arrow. Kyle down to no HP. Shanks trying to find some angle. Public execution to the backside. On in danger. Been going for the edge. Into the wall. Needs to come back on down base. 1 is low. They are beginning to turn this one around. A 1-for-1 right now. Flambe goes down. Wonderful from base. Again as Elk tries. He's beginning to fire out all of the arrows everywhere. Shanks caught in the back of the pit and is shanked. Much like his namesake. Hope now in the back here as well. Got the flash. Will be forced to burn it. Can't stand and try and steal that one away.
They don't have the smites, but they won't need it. Wonderful fight from Elk on the Varus. Priority champion for a reason. This poke build, whether it's on here or poke, has good value as the champion. And right here, the poke, those extra arrows as you were calling them out time after time. You did a really good job of just like pinpointing every time. By the way, another arrow, another bit of HP gone. And that really changed things. Despite the fact there was no Galio ult, no Camille ult. this ends up being a one fight for the side of BLG because the HP was so far in their advantage from the work of Elk, and of course Beige One just before that. He dies at the start of the fight, but honestly, he's not the extended damage threat. He's pretty fine taking that fight after. It's been another crafty escape from himself and Shanks with the tear and the cult. Yeah, wishing out a bit more early power.
He did on survive the engage. Well, Beige One didn't, but I think in a lot of ways his work was done. They managed to get the 3 grubs. Kyle, no HP really to work with there, and that's really snowballed things. Varus, 2 kills. Galio, 2 kills. Very early Rod of Ages. As Camille's got herself involved in a fair amount here as well. This is a good start, I feel, for BLG, to say the least.
Well,
2K at this point is nothing to sniff at.
And so this is something which we saw the last time BLG did this. So this is a chance for you, if you're watching LPL and you don't watch it that often, this is something which only BLG are doing in the world right now. Watch how they play around the Elise support for the next 4 minutes of the game as the plates are still up. They have 3 grubs. They have gold on the Elise already. They want to feed, weirdly, their support, because if they get towards 1-2 items, they get a lot of value. Great Cocoon, getting in fights like this helps.
And there's the Impale. Drags him actually ironically out of the hero's entrance, but towards the Varus. Tarzan hit with the Chains of Corruption late on that spell shield, tried to turn it around. The paranoia should have been for himself, I feel. Kyle being body blocked, fighting on the TC timing, driven into a wall, and swiftly turned into roadkill.
4 kills for the Varus, more gold for BLG as a team. You even have, as we were saying, a Fed Elise, 1,000 gold ahead of Kyle, who, yes, is a good good Leona player, but just not been able to be the frontline he wants to be. BLG pulling the trigger more effectively, and Shanks, despite him having an excellent series so far, is getting picked off time after time. BLG don't have to use the Camille ult for this one either. They'll have that for another play in the next few minutes if they do see another opening. And this is before BLG even get themselves into side lanes and use those 3 grubs. Potentially they can use that to buy some plates within. Taking good trades here against Flandre. As you're saying, really good at that Camille. Long history on the champion. It hasn't died yet, even though the fights have driven him to low HP. Kyle on top side. Doesn't have ult just yet. Hasn't gotten flash. Bin still needs to be wary, though. Should know that Kyle is out back on the map after his death.
Be a bit wary of this. We've seen a few supports get a lot of value out of these lane ganks. Bin gonna get jumped on there, but the adaptive defense is down now for a second or two. Oh, Zenith just a big execution. That should have been a dead Camille. Been an overstep for sure.
Oh, Bin, I don't know which god you paid off to roll the dice in your favor there, but gets out of the Zenith Blade and the public execution. Kyle did have the ultimate coming up right then. Bin still has flash, still has ult. Will get a teleport into the top side of the map. This is actually a big mistake, I think, from AL, by the way. I think that Bin can teleport back in. Shanks trying to get a plate before things come over. But what this means is that doesn't BLG get a chance to teleport Camille bot side and use that teleport to get a plate themselves with the 3 grubs? Potentially so. I suppose with AL teleporting back down that they escaped that. BLG, I was a little afraid, actually, for AL that they'd do a similar mistake to Game 2, where suddenly, in one fell swoop, BLG gets to use 3 grubs on towers.
That makes me angry in anyone's Legends favor. How dare that Camille get away with that?
They're falling behind the game, using the skirmishes, and yeah, moments like that, which could have been a little bit of gold back. The Camille shut down a little further. Doesn't work out. No. Knight has Rod of Ages and Tabby. Now the Corki doesn't get to push him around that much. Like, he's got a Cull and the Tear still. Yes, he has a Phage, but whatever at this point. We're even getting to the point where we were saying, look, this Elise is going to be threatening, particularly towards that. The double Yordle combo of Corki and Ziggs. On yet to die yet. Typically, an Elise game is determined by how many times you die, and typically it's a lot. And even in moments like this, you see Elise hang around the top though. If Shanks takes a bad enough trade, Elise gets to tower dive, and yes, it's an Elise support. Still an Elise, can still repel out of turret shots. And that means that Kyle has to be on call here to make sure that Shanks is safe.
Doing his best to be as obnoxious as possible. Can step on forward, help to shove this out. He's got, of course, the support item stacks there. Try and get something out of the World Atlas. Upgraded partly already, Flandre. Where as he steps forward, Beige One trading out with Tarzan, preventing any easy public execution land. That's a great cocoon, though, into the taunt. Death comes for Leona into the Impale on the other side as it's matched by the unspeakable horror fear. But a flash, in comes the Hextech ultimate and public execution at the back end of this. Makes it a 2v2, or 2v2 briefly. But Flandre now in danger as he tries to Sundering Slam his way out, but he can't cunning sway his way away from death. And Bin gets the hook shot away. Wonderful engage there from BLG on 2 sides of the map.
3 kills for none across the map, and as we were saying, 3 grubs Elise is actually getting some value from that tower on top side. I don't know if he got any plates from that one, but he's been gifted some of that tower gold here, looks like, on that side of the map. BLG now ahead, near enough 5,000 gold, a little below that. In anyone's legend, it's another game where they have lost the early skirmishes and the game has fallen out of control. That has seemed to be the story of this game. Both of these teams know how to play so effectively from ahead. Play to place that knife between the ribs. And AL, sadly for them in this one, not able to win those early fights. It might come down, folks, to that 1v1 side select. Blue side winning all of our games so far. Blue side winning the early skirmishes and all of our games, realistically, up until this point. Daniel's Legend feels hard now to believe they can come back in a similar kind of composition to BLG's. That's always the worst. When you have the same tools as the enemy team. Well, we're both diving onto the AD carry. We're both diving forward. Okay, well, you're less strong at doing what they're doing. How do you fight away from their strengths? It's very hard to.
At least just Backton has a Blood Razor and a Storm Surge completed. At this point in the game, this Elise will really sting.
Yeah, no, Elise is one of those rare supports like, I guess, Brand back in the day, or
Heimerdinger, I suppose.
Heimerdinger, Vel'Koz, where if they get gold, they actually become a secondary threat, particularly when there aren't that many tanks on the other side. You know, if you land a Cocoon, even if, you know, one of the reasons why Elise has not played jungle very much is that, especially in Pro, is that when you get a chunk on someone, you don't full kill them, you get like a third to a half of their HP, realistically. When you're a support that does that, that's actually very useful because supports don't normally do that. So if you manage to do that very efficiently from the support role as the Elise, it can be a big value. 30 seconds till Dragon now, AL. Guess another chance to try and square up and use their combo, but as we were saying, very hard to fight fire with fire when you're behind in the same strength that the enemy team is playing towards.
Finn trading with Flandre there briefly, Dragon in 10 seconds. Do anyone's Legend want to fight this here? 11 to 1 down in kills, 5,000 gold. They might try and pick up Finn. Got the 24 sneak upgraded, steel caps not bought to the tier 3, but still needs to be a bit wary. Backs out on that one.
Of course, one of the things you have to pay attention to against the Nocturne is if you want to respond to that play with a teleport, you must press the teleport. I think it's in the first second of it being cast before the vision denies you being able to teleport across the map. Might typically be very good at that, actually. And they should be aware that the Nocturne ultimate is up with the Dragon coming up. Probably something which AL want to fight around. Knight ahead in CS against the Corki matchup. I think Shanks on the whole has been better at laning again into Knight. Knight's been suffering some of the matchups where Shanks have picked 4-lane dominance. But in this game, Knight picked the Corki in. One gank in the early game from Bageman. Knight's rolled it away with the game. Dragon started, AL not.
Died a couple times in those skirmishes and then dropped some waves, dropped some CS here, whereas the Galio certainly has not. This is actually the person with the most CS in the game, which is kind of wild on Galio. Dragon now secured as well. They're looking pretty good right now. Do BLG want to fight this? They are often known for forcing in these kinds of moments. Forces the flash. They're going to flash on board for the Cocoon, and Kyle is gone. But in comes the turnaround. Elise smoked by the Mega Inferno Bomb. Dragged back in his Flandre by the Hextech Ultimatum. Knight in a 1v3 on the other side is largely winning out. Ends up being a 2-for-1 as they kill off Flandre and Kyle, even if finally On has stepped a little far on the spider.
On chose not to use the repel and instead takes an entire Ziggs central ult to the face. And that is the problem with the Elise. Yeah, very easy champion to kill. Knight did go into that 1v3 as we were saying beforehand. He actually wins these plays, by the way.
Oh my days.
What does he actually? Flashing out. Ulting away.
He gets out to safety.
Tarzan threatening that. I was a little worried there for a second that actually, you know, Knight, what a CS, what a might be not sensing around on Shanks. Good awareness to be able to ult out with the second range of that second rank of that ultimate, increasing the range, allowing a way out. So this is on vision, and initially it's the Zenith play which misses. It was AL that were actually looking for the fight, trying to get a kill potentially onto Elk with the Leona into the Ambessa combo. This is the value of the Poke Varus, by the way. He can stand back from the play, and yes, the Tarzan Nocturne gets onto him, but he's safe enough against one person to survive, and then he'll point. Ping back, Elk had flashed over the wall anyway, and Elk really well played for him to position himself. So while he's being dove, he's only facing one threat, not two or three.
I feel slightly bad for On there, because I'm not even joking. Kyle got out of CC just long enough to Shield of Daybreak him just before he died, so he couldn't repel.
I will say though, I mean, let's be honest, he was going to die anyway. Kyle had no flash. Maybe you just repel for safety.
Yeah.
No, don't play it fast and loose. One's still 1,000 gold ahead, as we were saying. The Blood Song and the Stalk and Surge giving him some good value. BLG rolling across the skirmishes.
Oh, hang on, driven into the wall, into the Impale. That's a lot of damage now coming back on top wards as the Chains of Corruption also land. And Hope is not springing anywhere but a grave. Nocturne to the backside though, just pick up Elk. Not bad work there. Shanks trying to run away, but a repel brings on top of Shanks, who backs him before the turnaround can come on through. Been just out of range of the public execution. Flash on for invasion. The upheaval lands on top of Leona. Tarzan now in danger, slowed up again by the Tremor Sense. and they're going to get some more damage. That would be Rek'Sai passive, but either way, the Tremors from the Bastion, I believe it is.
Anyone's Legend do kill Elk this time. They get multiple people into the backline to kill the Varus for the first time. It's too little too late. On does use the repel this time, but he's in danger.
Ooh, not enough though, as he gets to the Storm Surge, Brock, and knows his limits better than I do. Gets that one down, picks up another kill. 4 members for just the trade of Elk.
Almost 9,000 gold ahead now. Our BLG gold lead just keeps increasing. They've gotten every objective in the game so far. All 3 grubs, all 2 dragons. And they're even 4 turrets to none. AL not even been able to touch either of them. It's been a poor game from Kyle, who's been missing key engaged tools. And right here, starts off again with him walking up and feeling a little bit vulnerable. Not there to save his AD carry either. He gets wall stunned in, hope baited forwards, and then immediately blast that one down. At least this time, AL do manage to get the enemy AD carry. It's the first time they've managed to do that. It's a composition in which they picked that to do so. Strength goes down. I would have auto-attacked the plant there, by the way, at the end. Let's get that more valuably. Bin somehow escapes from that ultimate too. That one felt like it was. That one felt like it was a bit unfair, actually. I think with that ultimate placement, a bit surprised you made it out.
Yeah, I would be annoyed for the side of Flandre there as well. That would have been a nice way to potentially pick up someone on the back end of that play, and you could certainly look to do some more from them with all of that HP. But then he ends up in a 1v3, driven into the wall, and we're back into live as Paranoia has been blocked to no avail. Everyone's still alive, and Kel comes on down onto Kyle, who's now dragged miles away from his team. Mid lane, on lands another cocoon, flash away from Flandre, but they've still got a Hextech ultimatum, and Flandre will be asked to answer. Upheaval lands onto Flandre, and that means that Elk gets an easy arrow on top of him, driven into another wall. They just keep going. Mega Inferno Bomb comes on down, and Bin is chunked up briefly, shielded around lands, or was attempted, but Hope is quick enough, waddling away on the Ziggs to get out to safety.
Yeah, the only negative thing for BLG, they've gotten such a big lead so early into the game. There's no Baron to end the game just yet. There is some wave play from anyone's Legend to keep themselves safe, but they're continually getting picked off as they're looking for this shallow vision around Raptors. As the second fight in a row has happened in exactly the same place, in the second place where Kyle has been brought down. Atacon's available, no Baron, but it's an objective to take. 30 seconds until the Dragon. I'm sure they can take this and go down towards the bot side of the map in good time as well. They're getting a sweep of both objectives for them and their snowball. Anyone's Legend, the story of this game has basically been they have been playing a similar composition to BLG, but they've been worse at it. I do think that BLG, they have a harder composition in some ways to play, but I think Knight on the Galio, 6-0 and 7, consistently being able to bail out the team. Bin on the Camille, having such a show match as well for himself of montage plays, have showed that skill expression and their comfort on these champions.
Head up towards the Dragon, it's so point, and at this point of the game, oh Kyle, you cannot be there, my friend. EA Precision Protocol Part 2, the Electric Boogaloo.
Solo kill for Bin. No one else got an assist on that one. Kyle, 0 and 7, the first All-Pro support for the LPL of this split, being humbled here in this game. Had a fantastic rel game earlier in the series, been very good on the whole. His Ashe support as well, good arrows in that game just before this, but not enough to cleanly win the series. We will very likely be going to game 5 now at this point. Flandre will have to get an objective bounty from topside.
1 and 6 on the Nocturne, 0 and 5 on the Abyss. And sometimes what happens into dive comps, if your divers fall behind, they dive into hell multiple times. And you can scream for sweet liberty all you want. What you find is a bunch of bugs, robots, or other things there to crush you into the dirt. And that has happened on the Leona.
Hey, there are squids now too, the Illumina.
No. Mine squids.
Yeah. BLG reset, come back out onto the map, and yeah, the problems haven't really stopped for anyone's Legend. BLG by taking a couple of minutes. Shanks, my dude, that is too far up. That is a problem. He doesn't have flash.
He's just Valkyrie'd as well. Hello, look who was waiting in the wings. Hero's entrance. Shanks is so dead. Impale afterwards into the taunt, and they pick up the Nocturne as well. And that'll be your mid-jungle down for the count.
Very confident play from Beitron and Knight this game. Beitron, again, difficult series. Beitron, there is a microscope on him as a player, as the player that came in to replace the failing jungle position of BLG. You know, they had Shun unceremoniously kicked at the off-season due to poaching allegations. Wei coming back in again, and Beitron's caught this time. Does have flash. That doesn't feel like a great use of it.
I feel like he's quite tanky, and On's coming over. I don't know if you want this one, folks. Beitron gets to walk away, flash for the noxious bite, and they'll get some more damage. Try and get something more flash shielded around onto Hope, who doesn't necessarily go down a little bit farther from Hope, and actually does begin to throw a bit more damage back. The Ziggs
teleport. There's a teleport going behind them. They're going to try and come back in with Shanks.
Knight's pretty low. Base run's pretty low. Shanks hit by the upheaval. Buys some time. Can look for an angle here with the Valkyrie. Just try and get a big one, but there's enough of a shield there not to care as Elk now standing on forward. On goes in, up into the air with the repel. Can come back on down. And has a little bit more venom in the fangs yet to get something more. Tarzan trying to trade out as he's also respawned, but now Shanks is caught in a potential 1 versus 4. They'll jump onto Tarzan. The spell shield comes on down, but there's an ultimatum. And it's fueled by Hextech. Into the river we go, where Shanks does at least get the Scorpion, which is better than nothing.
The smoke and mirrors, though, just doesn't work in their favor. The gold lead finally does crest 10,000, and Baron has spawned, and Tarzan is dead. Now, there is no smite for BLG. I guess they won't go towards the Baron on spawn because of that, but BLG playing with their food at this point. Anyone's Legend, they've tried a couple of times now to move out of their own side of their map or try and get some shallow vision. It's just not been able to be achieved without someone dying. BLG constantly on a hair trigger, waiting for someone to step out of line and pounce on them.
I mean, the KDAs are a little bit dire to look at. Combined 4 and 28 right now are Anyone's Legend, which is not exactly a positive place to be in. BLG over a kill a minute on their own terms. Galio has got a fully stacked Doxy on a death cap, by the way.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage in a Knight. We were saying before this point, he is one of the best Galios in the world, by my eye. BLG, they have a lot of players who have some champions to their name, like the Finn Camille as well. He's made a name on that. The question hasn't been about the peak performance of BLG individually. It's been about how often do you see it, and can they all peak at the same time. Game 1 of the series, you'd have to say, no. Actually, everyone but Knight was really struggling at that point. And again, Knight on the rise, didn't have a great game of it later. The rest of the team also struggling too. Even with that, BLG likely to force a Game 5 with a roster that's been kind of duct-taped back together to try and fix them. Firing a coach, changing a jungler, might be enough to deliver them to another finals here and now. We'll have another game to go through if they do win this one.
Just looking to get some poke down, but with On and Beige running around, we know exactly how aggressive they've been. They will keep hunting for you. Ooh, that impale. Whisk is shy, but is going to go wide. Trying to trade some damage back. On does eat a bit of damage. Again, you are still the Elise. Hasn't gone, interestingly, towards Zhonya's this game. Building more damage. Hextech alternator in chat.
Yeah, often it's something like the Protobelt to get in range for the Cocoon. Really nasty on that support role, clearing some vision. Kyle staring into a support which has 3 levels on him. Can still kill the Elise quite hard though. AL stacking with this brush, and this is the right kind of Baron pit to get into the pit for free.
They don't know if Tarzan just revealed himself. Play this one now, looking to turn around, bin into the backline, gets the Hextech ultimate on the heroes, and just comes on through the Hextech alternative. Also there, finding some value. Leona is eviscerated. They do kill off the Camille. Congratulations, but she bought all the time she needed. The Enforcer holds them to account.
Knight will shred through the bottom turret with so much AP and the Galio passive. This will be the end of the game. It was not close. Early skirmishes won by BLG win them games. And AL lost too early and couldn't fight back.
BLG with a lead, BLG without a lead is a very different beast than Anyone's Legend. Left reeling in this one. We've had some very one-sided games this series. We're gonna get a Game 5. We're gonna get Silver Scripts. We're gonna get the 1v1. We'll see which way the coin tumbles, which side it lands on next time, as we are going to that 5th and final deciding game.
Scrape your silver and roll up. Get seated for BLG and AL fighting after one final game for MSI participation, for finals participation. BLG on a roll, only lost one.
Ironically, I do quite like him on this enchant. He's quite an aggressive enchanter player. Finds a lot of value, and they will go towards that theoretically now. Some good shove available to them in that bot side. And the ability to play out the 1-3-1 is looking pretty good here.
If BLG win a single early skirmish in this game, from what we see in the rest of the series, AL are going to be struggling. With Sejuani, with double melee synergy on top side, with 2 very premier players of their champions. Knight Akali, perhaps the best within the LPL. Bin Renekton, perhaps the best within the LPL as well. H1 and Sejuani, which is arguably his best champion as well. When he was on Thunder Talk Gaming, before he switched over to BLG, midway through his split, he was a bit of a Sejuani merchant, incredible at that pick. Elkin on, they see the Jinx Braum, which yes does have good scaling potential, not the best laning phase, and Brauming
out on just a Leandries was pretty damn silly back in the day.
Well, if there is any time to give your team some energy, now is the time. Last Gyos of the day.
It's a cacophony of noise. People refusing to stop yelling even after Gyos are done. There was a moment there where On got slowed down, hit by the wind spike, but couldn't quite secure the full passive. So did get to just walk away. Wards put down, that's the end of it. Braum level 1, always a little bit scary to look at.
Maokai potentially walking up to put down a ward early on too. Bin knows he can threaten at the level 1 versus the Kasante. Flandre not able to do the... you can sometimes start E to kind of do a quick auto reset, like auto E auto. Give you sometimes enough attack speed to take a ward at level 1.
Maybe that's why that 1 year meme's just evolved into E.
Ward put down, or at least spotted there actually, so BLG will know there was a ward put down in that brush. No level 1 Braum plan working out so far. Walking up to the wave, need to not get hit by the Windows Bite if you can help it. Don't want to get that extra chunk through. Does hit Elk.
Doesn't lead to all that much as yet, but a nice little chunk there. Gives hope for the first couple orders, but there's a cozy campfire, and Elk is just made nice and warm again. Braum can't keep you that cold, but then again, tries to throw some presents down, heal for heal, trying to get in range for that last auto or two. Can't quite do it. Good trade on the summoners.
Yeah, the Q start, the extra range, gets the lethal tempo active. Elk, playing this Tristana, used to be a big aficionado of it. Now on threatening to get the pass on from Kyle, trying to get some damage back. The Braum, any damage you can land now does stick because you struggle to get that damage later into the lane. Typically you get wave controls, which Jinx and they will do here, but level 2 will get hit by Elkanon.
See what Elk wants to level up second.
Oh, he's gone for the jump actually for safety.
Yeah.
Not going for that bomb, which of course a huge part of your trading, but with Milio, extra auto attacks, the extra auto attack range do get really, really nasty, and you can see already Elkanon getting the HP advantage. Typically it's Jinx who gets the wave control early, not the case here, even with the early explosive charge not leveled. Great 2v2 for the first few levels from Elkanon.
Playing it very, very well. And again, Kyle, on the other hand, is back when he was in the LCK on Sandbox and stuff, his Braum was somewhat legendary alongside things like the Rel. If memory serves, reprise that here, keep hope well and truly alive, threaten a little bit with some of those big Q stacks, and again, still the cleanse to work with, still the rocket jump to work with, and that makes this point of the lane a little bit harder than it might have been at the level 1 to 2.
Now, Shank's doing well in the early lane against the Knights. Again, of course, it is the Doran's shield. Kyle, you do take a little bit more damage in the early levels, and you find you work your way back into it in melee versus range. A bit different when it's melee versus melee. At that point, you can definitely brawl a little bit more. H1, I don't think he was actually spotted out in his jungle clear in the way that anyone's legend thought he would be. Jumping forwards, not able to get the extra damage from the jump landing on target. Shield goes up. Elk still using the lethal tempo very, very well here.
Pull back there from Flandre, but Ben is yet to take turret aggro. Will then go to Cull the Meek.
That was really good timing there too. If you're trying to trade under turret, you can try and trade just as the tower shot fires from the tower. That means that you can then walk a step back and not get turret aggro. By virtue, level 4 double buffs heading towards bot side. Well, no heal for Kyle actually, importantly. This might just be a pressure gank. I don't think they need to kill here. I think they just want to make sure that Hope and Kyle have to recall.
Ward over the wall, I think, was quite astute. They know this is coming. Kyle trying to stand between him and Hope, puts up the door, does get over the top of it. Hope flashes away. The barrier, trying to keep him alive, and he surely goes down. And a rocket jump out. Base one probably is traded, but importantly, it's the AD carry with both summoners who dies, and Elkanon stay in lane with their summoners up. Maokai will steal a Raptor camp and trade, and that is it.
Yeah, it's the kill to the Tristana compared to the kill versus the Braum. Maokai will get some advantage by going in towards the top side jungle, getting something there. Knights trying to get an E-target onto Shank's Ting. He has no mana, he should be recalling anyway. Elk getting the first kill, 10 CS lead. Yes, it is at the cost of Beitran losing some value himself, but BLG come out ahead from that trade.
I do apologise. Well, there was no Raptor camp because actually it was red buff into Krug, so just gets a ward down there, and that's all it was. I should have looked at the CS numbers first, but alas, there we are.
Been doing well on this top side as well, 10 CS lead. The Renekton versus the Kasante, not good early. Knight misses that cannon there. That's a little unfortunate. Down again, 10 CS lead is laning. Not been fantastic into Shanks actually. Shanks getting the better of the early lane. Yes, Shanks has been given the good early lane matchups. Knight typically delivering better in the early skirmishes afterwards, but it does say a lot that Shanks, potentially on the cusp of his second finals back-to-back, is worthy of laning against players like Knight, who has been so clearly the best mid within the LPL for such a long time.
There's been a question about who would answer the call of Knight really in the LPL. Yagao's gone, Scout, Rookie have had some up and down years, Xiaohu the last couple of years as well. Yes, there's been clutch moments in playoffs, but has he been the imperious superstar of years past? Probably not. Knight alone, the elite mid laner in the LPL in some ways. Dragon is started by BLG, teleport back in from Knight.
So no contest coming through from here. Marco might walk over and say hi. Jinx and Braum up towards top side. Renekton level 6, very hard to do anything on that side of the map now. Early game was going very, very well for Solo. He actually hits there. Nice electrocute trade from Knights. And of course, laning phase feels great up until you teleport back in. You realize, oh, that chunk which I got earlier actually means nothing. And now you have to deal with the bad end of that. Then almost doing that bad trade. Hasn't recalled yet, though. We'll do that now and teleport back into the map.
I think Cassante's picking up a wave under the turret, but that is a monstrous CS lead. Only just crested 30 CS, picking up the dregs of a wave in bot lane.
Exactly why when the Cassante was locked in, if you were listening to us on cast, you could hear a bit of an... Because Renekton, let alone Bin's Renekton, yeah, bit of a nasty one to play
it away most of the series.
Yeah. And he gets good value out of it. At game 5, you have to get something through. Reminder, folks, blue side has been winning almost has won every game so far in this series. Knight, again, really good trade, gets himself the alternator. Shanks' early laning, yes, did get a CS lead, but Knight's got control of the lane.
If Shanks, having just monstered the 1v1 to get blue side side-select, and the one game blue side loses is this game 5, I don't know how anyone can sleep at night. That would be so frustrating.
Knight has Beitron on top side now, protecting the ward in top side. Beitron, if he gets the scuttle, he gets 6. That's where they really want to fight for this. Tarzan wants to try and deny it if at all possible.
And the Frost plus Smite would do it. So there's the Winter's fight. Beitron with the Cozy Camper on top. They aren't going to full send it, and they'll back away.
Yeah, Beitron could have got the red buff for the level 6 as well. Now Tarzan gets 6 first, interestingly. On doesn't have his yet to deny that first Maokai ult of the game.
Maokai going to think about invading for the red buff here. Throws down the sapling. Beitron understandably going to throw down that control ward just in case Tarzan sticks around. He is there with Hope and Kyle. Ward's coming on down. We've got Grub spawning in 40 seconds, and I think we are going to see a bit of a conflict around it.
Flandre saved his teleport as well. Potentially could use that to get towards the play. He often does teleport away from the 1v1 to get value for his team. Tarzan getting a wrap to steal away now. He might have gone too far, though. You know, this is dangerous.
Needs to be a bit wary. We'll try to twist advance after safety. That glacial prism was just shy, but the Shuriken flips land. Can't retake it, though, because the Chompers were there.
And of course, Braum passive in front of a Jinx, often not really something you want to be sitting around doing. Grub spawning 10 seconds. The bot lane advantage not actually led to 2. It has led to an early level 6 from Elcash. The early jump in from Shanks.
Trying to get a chunk here. Reminder, there is a distinct lack of Sejuani ult here, so felt the need to be able to do that one. They got the heal out of On. Of course, not level 6 yet himself, but that is another Between Worlds burn by Shanks as well, so a couple big ults down.
And Bin has a 25 CS lead, and he's walking up towards the play. With the Aurora ult down, you know, not getting the kill, I mean, you still have a full health. Just starting to play around this beat. Beitron will walk over. Typically, to take the grubs quickly, you need a melee synergy. Knight would have had to come over to help with this. He'll help it now. Melee synergy does help.
Got a Haunting Guys in inventory. Can look to throw down that Nature's Grasp. Looking to throw that ult. TP coming in. That's 2 taken. I think they might just say 2 is enough and we're out.
Yeah, exactly. Just don't buy into the fight. Flandre's coming in. Bin can push in another wave. If he can run towards bot side quick enough, that means he actually might be able to get a slight advantage again in the 1v1 again. 2-1 in the Grubs. BLG happy with that. Slight gold lead as well. Most of that coming through from the Tristana and from, of course, the Renekton.
Action does have his back interrupted just slightly, but it shouldn't change that much in the grand scheme of things. It's not going to give Tarzan free reign in the enemy jungle or anything to clear stuff. He just gets to pick up a full quadrant or so, so we'll probably end up about 8 CS ahead, something like that by the time we're done, just purely off the camps that this Maokai can pick up.
Worth noting, Elk getting a cult. He'll get slightly further ahead of the Jinx from that as well. Did we mention that?
I don't think we did, no.
So that can definitely help get a little bit further ahead too. Tristana, Milio, disgusting combo later into the game. Because normally you think, okay, well, you know, Jinx, hypercarry, blah, blah, blah. I mean, Tristana's skills scale with her auto attack range. So if you get the Milio jumping forwards, it means that the bomb and the Buster Shot also get longer range too. It makes it very convenient for you to jump forwards and to a lot of damage. Elk jumping forwards here and just threatening. Hope has been such a stalwart for anyone's legend. He has been a player which I think goes under a lot of people's radars because he's not had international results like some LPL AD carries, but he has been, you know, a 22 summer champion in a hyper carry meta. One of the key reasons they made finals last split. And he's played very well this one too.
Doing his best for sure. Beitron walking on down here. Hit with that. Winter's Fight and the Ignite as well, but of course it's the Summoner Spellbook, so kind of using it as an opportunity to switch summoners. So dubsteps it and forces Elk to dance hot potato style.
Beitron walking over sees the red buff. Tarzan's coming over. Hang on. Flandre's got some options here as well. He can walk over.
Tarzan plays 2v2. Elk, Buster Shot away. He's caught the wrong side of the choppers. He's in so much danger. Does manage to back away enough there. The Hellingler's there. Beitron comes out of the jungle, lands the Glacial Prison. Kyle now in a bit of danger himself. Both bot laners left a little lower, but Elk of course, with the cozy campfire, can choose to play that a little more aggressively and does.
Yeah, he didn't burn his own cleanse. It was the Milio cleanse, worth noting. However, what this means is that Beitron can't contest in the red buff. He has to come over and answer mid lane instead. A bit over ambitious from L. Teleport coming back in from Braum, who used it with the spell, but that's why they're coming back in. Dragon spawning in 10 seconds. See whether BLG feel like they can contest. I'd imagine they don't, after giving up some big ultimates there. And they'd rather, let's be honest, play through the huge advantage with the Renekton is getting. You do have the 2 grubs. If you can spend time in side lanes, you typically get more value. Knight teleporting down bot side. Bretz gets that Proto Belt.
Dragon about to get started. BLG did, of course, get that first round. Can afford to give this one up. Well, I think Beitron did have a Cassante collapsing on his red buff.
With Akali 1 item and Hope here, at this HP, there is an option now for BLG. Does Akali come over? Knight, you going to play for it?
Comes the Nature's Grasp. Beitron will Arctic Assault away. Double CC. Milio now in danger because he got caught by it. A flash twist in advance and the Enchanter is down.
Renekton going in.
Oh, flash on forwards. Gets the Ruthless Predator looking to cover me. Can't get that bigger heal. Needs to start backing away. Into the backline goes Knight trying to buy some time. All out. They're going to get rid of the Jinx. They lost his Tyrant Trade. Perfect execution does kill Carl. And the Winter Spike concussive blows combo brings down Knight as well.
BLG miscommunicate. On is not body blocked for. Bin flashes in when everyone else was going out, and anyone's legend takes the early skirmish with multiple kills and the dragon. BLG, the early skirmishes have been their win condition, and they lose the first big one of the game.
Let's have a look at this one again.
But look at this, right? So On is not body blocked for. He should have been stepping behind someone because he just uses ultimate because Elk made the mistake in mid lane. Then afterwards, you know, you do get the reset on Hope. Ben thinks, oh, well, I've got to flash onto him. But he's doing this while Akali was leaving the fight. They didn't want this. BLG were not communicating that. And the barrier comes through after the W comes through, so this extra shield doesn't really, it does make that difference. He misses from Knight. Can't quite kill Kyle, as you were saying. Kyle flashes away from a potential follow-up auto. Knight does get one, but he can't get multiple. But the miscommunication, Bin and On, much like the first game of the series, misplaying an early skirmish, which throws BLG into disarray.
Really does. And even then, it's like, look, I'm not even as worried about that mid lane skirmish, because I think that was a deliberate choice to try and force some cooldowns, force some plays. But if you're going to do that and then not deal with the fact you don't have the AoE cleanse for that
Flandre's on
fight,
weak side now. There's an ultimate potentially throwing in from Sejuani. However, 1-0-1. Flandre picked up a lot of gold from that skirmish. The CS lead onto Bin feels a lot less material now.
Potentially die here. Black Cleaver versus the Thornmail. Going to try and half make her way. No all out to work with. Rocket jump forwards. Flash available. Glacial Prison after. Looking to continue to stack the CC. Flandre pretty tanky at this point, but doesn't have a W cooldown. Can't get any more. He's far enough away to safety.
It's tanky enough with the HP and the Thornmail. Knight's now left alone farming on one side, and AL, the early skirmish, launch padding them ahead. Bin and On must be kicking themselves to that mistake around that skirmish in bot side, which has led to AL once again, much like the start of the series, pulling ahead.
BLG with the lead and BLG without a lead is a very different beast. TP in here could get interesting. Who is it? It's Flandre. Has all out, but no flash and no teleport. Bin initially starts up here, gets a decent chunk. Top side, they're trying to race for turrets. Remember, there's more grubs available for the side of BLG, but no one is contesting the top side wave. Elk eats a top chart.
And Flandre is just not dying. Bin pulls the ult and achieves very little with it. Beitron doesn't have the ultimate now. Flandre, he's happy. He has 2 biscuits as well. He can keep regenning a little more. BLG lose the race towards that first turret.
Akali's having to trade out versus 2 mid lane as well. Tarzan's burned his ultimate. They're going to dive out Flandre.
Jinx ult.
And in comes the Jinx ult, trying to get some value down. There goes the turret. The Jinx ult not enough. Buster Shot keeps Elk alive. Knight in the mid lane as well. Survived the gank from Tarzan in mid lane.
Yeah, he uses the ultimate, doesn't blow the flash. Hope getting a lot of gold here, though. Worth noting. Elk has got a cull on the way. Will have a little more in the bank. But Flandre, buying so much time, does get a lot of value for himself. Renekton, 1,000 gold ahead, but we're getting towards the point now where it's beyond the first item, where Renekton gets less value.
Renekton did at least now end up with a 1,000 gold lead. I think he was the one who got the kill there as well. I didn't quite see. I hope we'll get that in the replay. Either way, BLG at least trading in those turrets evenly enough. Knight holds on in the mid lane. That's okay in the grand scheme because the gold lead relatively non-existent. A bit more split for AL than it is BLG. Of course, we've got it all in this Renekton's hand basket. Herald's up, and they might want to play with that spike available to them.
I think they should look towards that. What ultimates are down from anyone's legend? We have no perfect execution from Knight. Big ultimates not available from Shanks and Tarzan there for the next while.
Yeah, those are relatively important. Beitron's ult coming up in 3 seconds. 8 for Bin. Should make this a potentially interesting one. super mega flare kick hits Kyle in the face for next to no damage.
Elk about to cash in that Cole, of course, won't get that much chance to use it. Ultimate's coming back up. Tarzan up in 5.
So there is the Cole cashing, good for the side of Elk. Blonde Rate looking to threaten, but the permafrost times out. Knight on a flank angle, level 11.
Not good terrain here for BLG. Tarzan will get this ultimate across the side of the fight and force them to body block again. The front to back favors AL.
Knight looking to be not on the flank, though, gets on top of Hope, throws down the Twilight Tribe, buying a lot of time. Hope gets to be staying alive for a second or two as Elk goes looking on the back, and Knight misses! And now Elk is in so much danger as well as he jumped forwards and doesn't get it either!
Bin didn't get an angle onto the backline. Knight does hit his ultimate, but the heal from Kyle saves the last bit of the damage, and BLG take a front to back. They can't win.
Oh dear, it just doesn't work out. They went looking into it, but they can't find the engage, and now Hope gets to step on forward, staying alive. Permafrost onto Bin, and that's the end of that one. A mess from BLG in that one as they'll pick up everything.
Now, BLG, they've failed the first couple of fights of the game now. Their objectives are starting to fall away from them. This is how they've lost, and now AL can comfortably go into a mid-game where they get to play around, very strong front to back. They won't be able to get themselves a cancel of the back here. BLG should never have gone towards a front to back like this and trust in just trying to outplay. AL are far too good from that. They won't be able to find any recalls away from this. Knight was on a solo mission into the backline, did hit Hope with a lot of skills, but when you're the only person going in, BLG can't hope to get away with that. But we'll look at the replay here, because Knight gets an angle onto the side, but you need Bin to do this as well. Ultimate misses at first. Knight does get onto the backline, but you can see here, the Guardian, the heal coming through, and he does end up hitting the ultimate at the end. That does connect, but there's a heal and a barrier.
What he missed was the Shuriken flip, which is what I was calling out. He doesn't quite catch that one, and that means Hope gets to back away all the while. He was the only person there, and ends up not getting what he started for. There's Flandre on that Cassante, just got to stand there and keep how many people away?
Which is why you can't take the front to fire. The Cassante, the front to back, the Maokai, the Cassante, the Braum, they're all too good at this. And now suddenly they get the Herald, they get to force the groups now with the Herald. Batron's going to walk over just to see the Herald hit the tower.
Well, that's now Beishwan hit with the permafrost. Rocket comes on through and Beishwan survives.
Tompa's almost leading to his death. I was wondering if that would be 100-0. Potential. They've used a lot of ultimates now, though.
Ben's going to look on forward Glacier Fissure, but they've got the permafrost on top of him. He just doesn't do anything. They have to flash away, and Hope gets another. In comes the Maokai ultimate. On will finally cleanse people away. Kyle's still with the door. They just can't kill anyone.
BLG again forced to taking the 5v5 front to back, and it's not working for them. You can't just press your keys and get away with it. Bin suffering from this one, and On even misclicking his ultimate, I think, or progressing it in the wrong way at the end of it to not get that cleanse onto Elk in the right way. AL very cleanly getting towards the 5v5, pulling the trigger well, forcing BLG to take the 5v5 front to back, and they're being rewarded for it.
Dragon now going to be prized of anyone's legend. The gold lead has gone from non-existent to very significant.
Dragon will be claimed by them, getting ahead in that objective game. BLG lost that 1v1 for side select. I don't think it necessarily put them into the worst scenarios. The Milio helping to mitigate some of the CC. If BLG can play a game around flanks, around getting onto that backline, this is a very playable game. But they're not playing well around disengaging from the Maokai ult. Again, On and Bin, that earlier fight which set them behind. They've failed to come out of the nosedive and the spiral that they're going to from that. They're just continually trying to dive through the Braum, the Cassante, the Maokai. That's not how their team is meant to play.
Knight struggling to make the flanks work by himself. BLG not making a lot of value out of this. Renekton, who had the early leads. Very challenging from this position. Now you've gotten 2 items onto the Maokai, who, of course, it's Tarzan. He always builds like this on Maokai. Bloodletter's Curse second.
Yeah, he's going towards that damaging build. Does help him get a little bit more burst through into that front line, and that can potentially help you kill a Kali or Renekton on the dive. Bin, so much lead on this Renekton. Got a very good individual laning phase, but the early skirmishes, much like that first game on that Rumble, just not working out for him, and when you lose that flash and don't get kills, feels really poor for you. BLG have a brief moment of respite now. Khan is spawning. Can they find an angle onto the backline? Hope has both summoners. He has the Yundels and Infinity Edge and the Feats of Strength, giving him some extra stats too. If he's allowed to hit, Hope will carry.
He absolutely will. On the other side, you have still got a Tristana. You have still got a Milio. You've got Hyper Carry plus Enchanter. Sometimes you have got that ability to outscale in ways you might not otherwise think. So there's a world where if you can get that initial reset for Knight getting a kill that gives Tristana the ability to jump forward. You can do some work here, but it has been difficult. The front to backs are always going to be tricky, especially if anyone's legend have got the setups for them.
We've also seen no payoff right now from the Milio Tristana.
No.
He did get that early push in, but he couldn't really get the macro that they wanted. Now, this Tristana was meant to deny the Jinx a lot of value. I think that, again, with that mistake in the bot river, tanking the Maokai out unnecessarily, not going for the body block, giving the reset to the Jinx, that was the play which really started off the spiral. Bin and On, two players who've fallen off a lot this year. Now, On has always been inconsistent, but the highs were more than enough to outweigh the lows. Bin, I don't think he's in contention for best top laner in the world anymore. This is a series which could, again, build that legend up for him, get towards MSI, get towards International, and recover some of that reputation for him. He has struggled here today versus anyone's legend. A couple of great games, but largely overshadowed by some individual underperformances.
2 minutes until that dragon. Atakan is also on that bot side of the map, so again, we're starting to get towards that point where you can get 2-for-1 specials on objectives with things like Baron. A few minutes off as On. It's a lot of damage from just the Maokai there. Has at least got a cozy campfire to undo some of that work, but good lords.
Yeah, it's nasty. It means that someone has to face check them. I guess it has to be the Sedrani, all things said and done. Beige1 missing a couple of key ultimates. He has been jungle diffed by Tarzan today. Tarzan, best jungler, I think, within the LPL. I think Kanavi, of course, up there as well. But Beige1 not coming into BLG as someone who was meant to be the star carry jungler. He was just meant to paper over the cracks and get them to play on the same page. I think as that role, he has done well. But on an individual level, Tarzan has just ripped him through and through on the individual levels.
Had a good Skarner game. Just the last time out. And of course, game number 2 was the one which BLG smashed as well. Was also pretty solid.
Now, every win in this series has been a stomp. Every single
Exactly
win.
that.
BLG in game 2 and game 4 managed to do so. AL games 1 and 3 similar. This time, quite as big, but still 2,000 gold lead. You have to feel like AL, with this competition, they have such a big advantage getting later and later into the game, forcing BLG to dive further and putting themselves more at risk to get to that Jinx.
Lord Dom's at least done for Elk, and I think that might help versus some of the front line here. Has struggled to get as much damage done, but I do need to see Elk not feel the need to yeet himself into the backline to try and desperately follow up on Knight. We saw that last play where he kind of felt like, I have to try and jump in and get the reset or it's all over.
Minute till Dragon. Is there any flank vision for BLG? No, they do have double teleport, so they don't know how to use it right now. Knight pushing up top lane, which is nice. Shanks, great series from him. He's been doing well enough in the 1v1. Of course, did well in that first team fight too. Feats of strength for those boots really help. Those boots onto burst mages are very impactful. Beige1 spots out Tarzan. I don't think they spot everyone else in that brush. Trying to find out a second angle. If they can get a second angle, force out some summoners and defensive tools from AL for cheap, I think then they can win a fight. But it has to be now. If they lose another fight, I think the series goes with it.
Kyle will reset and come back with the teleport into mid lane. Carly backing away, looking to reset herself. What does she have on reset? Bin, having got the wave shove bots, I guess, put in a few wards himself. Would have slice and dice out, and that does help get you a potential additional angle. I think Bin is just in here. I don't know if they know he's there.
I don't think so either. You could slice over the wall, but then you'd have no dice left. You have to flash over the wall to get that. Carly coming back in, has a sorcerer's pop. Yeah, okay. The elixir. That is very intelligent. He shows on the wave, they'll know he has it. He's trying to stay off the vision for now. Bin going to be... No.
Maokai sapling caught him. That's what happened.
Okay. That's the extra wards. And of course the extra... he'll teleport back now. Oh, Elk, my dude, you can't play like that!
Gets the heal, backs away, but got caught a little bit against the wall there.
Flandre taking the honey fruit, so Elk can't go to that too. Elk, a couple of key missed plays from BLG's AD carry. Another player with inconsistencies. He must have ended up eating another Brawn Q. Suddenly BLG, a fight which you could tell they were angling towards so heavily. There was this elixir brought by Knight, ruined by Elk getting chunked out. Huge mistake from the AD carry of BLG, who has been known to crumble in some of these more high-pressure scenarios for BLG. Right now, coming back in, has to regen, but his mistake has left them so behind in the macro.
A third of the Atakan health bar down already. On now here, Knight now here. Beige1 eats half his HP bar as they're trying to jump onto Bin. Atakan still being taken, zoned off. He can't do anything about it, and it is just taken for free, as you said.
All of this from Elk getting caught on mid lane. They worked so hard to get towards a play to contest the Dragon and the Atakan. Elk overstepping, eating skill shots, losing his HP, throw all of that hard work and macro to waste.
And he bought that part. That just throws Knight deeper in the hole. He put a lot of his savings, his investment into that means so little now. I guess he just sits in his inventory and waits.
BLG, I don't know where they fight now. Soul Point, AL, they are the strategists in our region. They will play the slower game like this and force you into bad mistakes. Tarzan has forever been very good at this. Bin, big lead, 2 items. This is your spike. Because of Elk's mistake, he couldn't make play through that power spike. Because of his mistakes earlier, he ruined his own power spike too in the first fights of the game. BLG might not be a red side diff necessarily. The gameplay, I think, is the more I'm worried about, sadly for them. Feats of strength being of course, bought up by AL as well on trying to tank some of those saplings, which do a hell of a lot of damage, you know?
The observers that continue to show it because it is very obnoxious. At least managed to get a little bit of shielding there from the Airy. Kyle will try to win despite Elk beyond the Chompers before they arm. I think that's probably why. There's tier 1 in mid lane, TP behind. So Space 1 split off, needs to flash away over the wall. They're going to try and flash over the Winter Spike. The Glacier Prison buys a bit of time, but that's still going to be a Sejuani caught in the middle of nowhere, and there's no defensive tools. Bin doesn't have a TP to come on over, and it leaves that Sejuani out to dry.
Yeah, clean play. BLG overgreed towards that turret. Q3 missing from Flandre. Does that open something up? I don't think so.
Going to take that reactivation. Elk will hop forward, try and get an auto 2 down, especially because Baron's coming up. They need to get what damage they can down now.
So they do... Well, there's no Maokai ult now. On trying to tank up another sapling. But he's another Q. It's nasty for him.
No smite, remember, because it's Beitron, the one that died.
Tarzan, those saplings do so much work on. You can't keep eating those skill shots. BLG just not dodging enough to get the HP to fight.
They can't see anything to dodge them either. It's so problematic. In they go to the backline. Bin in a 1 versus 5. Dies in a matter of seconds. Baron now in a 3v5. Got to be surely a foregone conclusion.
Too low HP, too many saplings, too many skill shots. AL play the slow game and BLG fall on their own sword. Anyone's Legend claim the Baron. That will tide them over towards the Soul Point. Anyone's Legend, macro, strategy, draft, outdealing, outvaluing BLG in the series.
I mean, they're playing Minesweeper blindfolded. They can't see anything, and every time they look anywhere, there's something there ready to blow them up.
Which is why you have to find a way to force a fight, right? They overgreeded on that mid lane play. Bin didn't have teleport, and Beitron was caught out by the ultimate from Tarzan. This Maokai, from 2022, and this jungle pick became so meta, it just ruined the Vision game. Elk walks up the Chompers, force him into a bad position, and of course Beitron chooses the wrong angle here, trying to threaten an ultimate, but caught way out of position. No teleport on Renekton. Renekton's struggling to get involved in the game. And BLG, they just lose members so free. They've been completely choked out of this game.
Disrespect the Flandre TP, and it becomes a 5v4 very swiftly, and without the escape from base 1, it leads to the Baron as well. The Gold League continues to expand, and Anyone's Legend at this point very comfortably in the lead. And BLG, from behind, are not a particularly good team, it has to be said.
And AL, when they're ahead of the game, obviously very good. BLG, I mean, Bin losing the 1v1 for the side select here could be so crucial. I think he has been one of the worst performers for BLG across the series too. After so much social media posts saying we're back and the fast is over, perhaps another revisiting for Bin onto what went wrong in this series. AL, very good team, but BLG, after the gameplay they showed, would have felt very confident about their chances in this series.
The irony, of course, is Bing got the MVP in the 2 wins they got. Loses the 1v1 and things get tricky. Mid lane Elf is just dead to rights. Another rocket comes on through. Beitron in danger. Knight on the backline running onto Jackson, but just gets nothing done. Flandre there as well will go all out and drag the Sejuani away. Knight now split off from the team as well. He's going nowhere. A triple to Hope.
Hope blows up BLG, and BLG lost too much early gold. They lost the 1v1, and on their heads be it, AL break the base.
We'll get some more damage done. The Mega Inferno kick comes out through. Super Mega Flare kick, that's the one. Doesn't really matter at this point, does it? What can one lone Milio do against such reckless shoving? Try to buy some time, they put up a door. Bin slices a little bit, will get one to the turret. There's a courtesy there. Bin trying his best, but the next turret fall, and Anyone's Legend will break the BLBG surge and show that they are truly the ones deserving of going to MSI. Lock themselves into their first international since their Rogue Warriors dynasty in 20.